were out on the golf course yesterday. That's how nice it was. They said, you know what? The Packers aren't playing. I'm going to go play a little golf. So they found a municipal course that was, I don't know if it was a municipal. Regardless, they went golfing yesterday. So that's the kind of weekend it was. 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, you can feel free to go ahead and do so. That is the phone number to get a hold of us, 877-867-1670. You want to text us, you can, 608-321-1670, 608-321-1670. And then YouTube. Another great platform. You can subscribe, and we'll pop up each and every day that we go on, including the Green and Gold postgame show and the huddles as well. So don't forget, you can catch us there. So plenty of different places that you can find us. Go to youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show, youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show. You can find us on Twitter, on X, at Bill_Michaels, at Bill_Michaels, or at Wisco Grant, WISCO Grant. Find Grant Bills there. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok under The Bill Michaels Show. You can also get us on the Twitch app, on the Kick app, on LinkedIn as well. Email the program, thebillmichaels@gmail.com, thebillmichaels@gmail.com. And you can also find the website, thebillmichaels.com, then the app, WOZN, the Zone Madison, and then on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Google Podcasts as well. Track us down there. So that's all the different ways that you can find us and get a hold of us. So that being said, big weekend. Boy, I tell you what, just sitting around watching football yesterday was just needed with nothing going on. Got up early. One of Kristen's friends had flown into town for the party this past weekend, and so I had to get up and take her back to the airport yesterday. And then after that, came home. I don't know if we moved. We went to lunch. Grabbed a little lunch, came home, and feet up, fire going. That was all she wrote. Head back in the recliner for about a half an hour. And then I had to wake up just to be able to wake up, just to say, okay, I can't go to bed at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But sat up and watched some of that Kansas City Chiefs game last night. Man, what a game. Kansas City I always say, sometimes you got to be lucky. You got to be good. You got to be hot, you got to be healthy, but sometimes you got to be lucky. And last night, again, as time is expiring to win the division and win the game, the ball hits the upright and bounds through. It doinks through the upright, and that's the way the Kansas City Chiefs win the division last night. Just amazing. Just amazing. And the Chiefs just continue to go. Their 15th straight one-score game, including the postseason, and they just figure it out. You can't bet against them. I really thought that this would be their first loss. I think I took them to win. I don't know if I took them to cover, but they just keep on winning. It's just amazing how Kansas City keeps on trudging through. We got a lot to get to today. When it comes to the NFL recap, there's a whole lot going on. We're going to have Mike Clemens coming up here bottom of the hour because Mike is going to do some stuff inside Lambeau a little bit later on this afternoon. But going back to the game, now I was off on Friday, but we had the postgame show on Saturday, and it seems like an eternity ago since the Packers lost to the Lions. But the talk over the weekend, whether it was on Friday when I saw some friends and went to dinner on Friday night, people that came to the party on Saturday, or just texting a few friends on Sunday, it's the Packers have done enough in the games against Minnesota, against Detroit, against Philadelphia. They've done enough to lose. And what do I mean by that? What I basically mean is they're a competitive football team. They're not a bad football team, but they do just enough to make you believe they can beat the better teams. And then they ultimately lose the game. That's what that means. That's when I say they do just enough to lose. It's like they're on the cusp. They just can't get over the hump. And that's what I mean when I say they've done just enough to lose. Grant Bills, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. I like the Christmas theme on the stream. It was nice to see you and Mike Clemens and some others on Saturday night. I think you're right about the Packers. I think they can beat those good teams, but we're now into the second week of December and they haven't beat those teams. So they kind of feel like they're just a tick behind.
They are they are what their record is. They are an above average team that can't get out of their own way. It doesn't mean that they couldn't, because people were saying to me, wow, you're so down. It's not that I'm down. It's the same things keep popping up. A defense that can't get off the field on third down. Sometimes they just can't make big plays. There are times that play calling is inexplicable. It's just enough flaws that you can't get out of your own way sometimes. That's all I mean. It's not that it can't be fixed. It's not that it's terrible. It's not that a whole bunch of people should be fired. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just simply saying they are exactly what they are. That's all. Nothing more. So I don't know what to. I mean, some people want to see people fired. I mean, this is ridiculous. Matt LaFleur can't beat Dan Campbell. How stupid is this? He can't call plays, and some people want him out of here. And then you got others that say, this is a great team. They're going to get better. Yay. And it's like, stop it. You're through week 14, man. You're week 14. Whoever said it, you are what your record says you are, was I think it was Bill Parcells. I think it's true. I think it's true. I just don't know how the Packers are suddenly going to invent a defense that gets aggressive and gets home consistently on third down. I don't know how they're going to get a better front four rush unless they do things creatively. I don't know. I don't know. They don't have power on the outside edge. They don't have beef up the gut. You don't have a Chris Jones disrupting things, or a Micah Parsons coming off the edge, or you go through the list of guys that can rush the passer. You don't have a Bosa. You don't have a TJ Watt. You don't have that guy. Rashawn Gary was paid to be that guy, and he's not that guy. He's not. Your linebackers, they show you a little flash. Maybe Edrin Cooper when he comes back and he's better. I don't know. But there is, other than the season that Xavier McKinney is having, you don't have a Pro Bowler. Eric Stokes is done. His career is over. The leg injury, the ankle injury, is as much as I appreciate the valiance of trying to come back, he's lost a step. Either he has lost a step and can't keep up, or between the ears, he doesn't understand it. I don't know. You start to look at guys, you start to go, okay, I've seen enough of this. I've seen enough of that. I've seen enough of this. And that's what it is. You saw an offensive line who, Grant, you and I talked about when we were making our picks on Wednesday. And I said, the most assured thing I have going into this game is the fact that the offensive line has been the best pass blocking offensive line in all of football. And they got their ass handed to them early on in that ball game. I mean, man to man, they got their ass whipped, and by a bunch of no names.
And they settled in, and the offense played great the rest of the game. But I think that was, look, we can nitpick the Packers. We also have to realize how freaking good the Lions are. And I thought it was brilliant. I think Dan Campbell and his staff said, we're going to come out right away, and we're going to jailbreak after him and see if we can't catch him off guard once or twice. And then once the Packers adjusted, the Lions are banged up and they couldn't get a stop either. Right. No one could get a stop. But I think Campbell recognized, we're going to struggle to keep him under 30, but maybe we can get lucky if we take a huge swing on the first drive or two. And it worked. The Packers were overwhelmed right away.
When you have no Aiden Hutchinson, no McNeil, no DJ Reader, no Pascal, I mean, none of those guys are on the field, and they just pin their ears back and come after you to kick your ass. I want that guy in my locker room. That's what I want. They don't have the talent to go toe-to-toe with the Green Bay Packers consistently and play that game. So he said, let's just go beat their ass. I would once just love to see the Packers be the aggressor. That's what I would love to see. That's just once. Just full on, here we go. We're coming after you, and we'll make adjustments if you start to beat us. Until then, we're going to try to beat your ass. It just doesn't happen. It hasn't happened in a very, very, very long time. So on one hand, you can look at it and say, well, they lost the game. They played well. There's a lot of things to kind of nosh on here, but it didn't happen. Okay. You lost to a really good football team. Okay. I can live with that. However, when that football team gets after you, I mean, just wholeheartedly gets after you. And granted, Jordan Love was only sacked one time, but the pressure that was put on Jordan Love. And when you look at the fact that the Packers on third down were in this entire game were 1 for 5, that my friends, sucks. And the Lions were 46.7%. They were 7 for 15 on third down and 4 of 5 on fourth down. That's a defense that got pushed around up front because they just whooped your ass. And you are what your record says you are. You're good enough to compete and good enough to lose. That's all. There was no major flaws. I mean, turnovers happened, but the Packers were able to garner that back. And, I guess, I understand the Christian Watson fumble and such, but you get another one back. You had a couple of short fields, where you got it deep inside Detroit territory. You capitalized. A lot of things are good. It's not all gloom and doom. But the expectation for every Packers fan, because people say, why are you so hard on them? Because it's not about getting to the postseason. It's not about what seed you're going to be. It's about winning the division and winning a Super Bowl. There is no other path in Green Bay of expectation. Not when you're coming off of the season in which you had so much positivity coming from where you weren't supposed to be anything, coming from the second half of that season into this season to where you are today. So it's not that I'm being hard on them. It's that I'm being a realist. And there's a difference. And if you can't handle it, then I suggest going and listening to symphonic music at some classical radio station. I don't know what to tell you because I got people that are yelling at me. It's like, oh, they're great. They're going to be okay. No, they're not. If they were going to be okay, they would have done it now through 14 weeks of the season because you are sitting now going into week 15. And you really don't have many just easy games ahead of you. You know what I mean? You're on the road in Seattle coming up on Sunday Night Football this week. You're on the road in Seattle, a place that you have never traditionally played well. And then you go to week 16. And week 16, okay. Week 16, you got the Saints coming to town. You got a Monday night game. Okay, you should win that game. Before then, you go into what? US Bank Stadium? Then you head on December 29th. You got a noon kickoff at US Bank Stadium against a Vikings team and Sam Darnold that just looks like they're rolling. And they got another win. And then finally, you get what it should be, depending on how this whole thing plays out, should be an easy game. The Bears are an abysmal franchise. McCaskey on down. They are just freaking awful. They are ruining careers. They are an absolute, just a pit. That stadium is appropriate when you fly above it to look like a toilet seat. It is just an abysmal franchise. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible after what I witnessed yesterday. So that's where we start today. Then you wake up and boy, you see Soto signs. How many years? 15 years for $750 million?
I believe 15. And then it has a chance the money can go up to like 800 million too with some escalators. I think I've read. I said this. I said, look, good for Juan Soto because get what you can. Okay, you bet on yourself and you won. But this is the epitome of what's wrong with Major League Baseball. And I couldn't. Carl Ravitch of ESPN said when the end of the season came for the Yankees that, you've got all 30 teams pulling out their checkbook for this guy. And I said, I even tweeted at him and saying, Carl, you couldn't have your head further up your ass if you tried. There is maybe 3 teams that are going to come out and try to sign Juan Soto. That's it. Maybe 3. It is so to say that any team, and I'm not complaining because, oh my God, woe is me, the Milwaukee Brewers. What I am saying is Kansas City, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, you can go through the laundry list of teams and considered to be small markets. Tampa Bay, I can go on and on and on. Those franchises, including Milwaukee, have absolutely no shot at a talent level like that because of the inequity in Major League Baseball. You have to do it in different ways, okay? And while we can sit here and say that, small market teams make it to the postseason and they have gotten wild card hot and they have won games, and I get that. Okay. But the absolute financial inequity in Major League Baseball for in football, it's great because all teams are on a level playing field. Any team can get anybody at any particular point in time for the most part. And if you have smart general managers and if you have smart cap
ologists, you can make an even playing field for almost anybody at any point in time. There are franchises like the Bears that are mired in suckdom. Okay, they live in that city. But for the most part, you've seen Tyreek Hill go to the Dolphins. You've seen Randy Moss go to the Patriots. You've seen Reggie White go to the Green Bay Packers. You have seen guys turn franchises around. You have seen guys go franchise to franchise and have young franchises, overpaid franchises, underpaid franchises, all have the opportunity at that particular player. Where in Major League Baseball, you don't. You can't even begin to get in that ring. You can't even begin to get in that ring to be able to talk to people like that because you are just not capable. So that's part of what the problem is with Major League Baseball. And the problem is they're never, ever going to fix it. I wish there would be a mass Major League Baseball fan walkout to say, okay, you know what? We're done. We're done with you. You've made things better for the game, but now you're just trying to create crap and create rules to make it almost like a video game. In the meantime, the basic inequities in Major League Baseball continue to be ignored by both the players and management. Management doesn't want to open up their books. They don't want to show anybody what they make. And players, they want more and more and more. And I understand that. If they're going to continue to get it. But the way Major League Baseball is right now, I'm just not a fan. It really, I woke up today and I'm like, it's kind of leaves a sour taste in your mouth. It really does. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to give us a shout, please feel free to go ahead and do so. I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break. We're going to come back. We got a lot to get to today. The Packers, we can start there. We got Mike Clemens coming up here, bottom of the hour, this portion of the program. Brought to our great friend. We saw our great friend, Joe Martino, the owner of Point Brewing, came to the party this past weekend. We had a great party for our sponsors and friends and such. But Joe, such a wonderful guy. And we were talking about their business, about things that are going on, how they're doing. And I love the fact that the smaller breweries in the state of Wisconsin, they just keep continuing to crank it out. They continue to do it, get it done, whether it's the Amber, the Snow Pilot, Cider Boys, which is popular right now. So many good things coming out of Point Brewing. And then all the sodas and such for the kids and the root beers and stuff. Great stuff from right here in our own backyard. That is our friends at Point Brewing in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. Brewing excellence since 1857. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Ho, 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 my back.
Santa?
Ho, 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 Gina Dello from Pella. You've been a good girl this year.
Is that why you're in here building new windows?
Yes. Next year, how about just asking for a Pella gift card? My elves are used to designing windows from other places where they're all pretty much the same. But Pella? Ho, ho, ho. So many customizations and designs. My elves aren't qualified, so Santa has to put in some overtime. Ho,
Let me make a call. BRB.
Frighteningly fast pellet team at your service. Let us take it from here, Mr. Claus. And Gina, next time.
Yeah, I know. Santa already lectured me. Ask for a Pella gift card.
What if you need new windows or doors, but you're on the naughty list?
Right now at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, get as low as $19 per window and $81 per patio door per month.
Ho, ho, ho. Visit the Pella site and to all a good night.
PellaWI.com. Certain restrictions apply and 12/31/2024.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. Bill Michaels Show on this Monday. Packers game on Thursday. It's seems like an eternity ago, but kind of sets in and still kind of sticks with you. You know, just kind of gnaws at you a little bit, for lack of a better term. This portion of the program, by the way, coming to you from Potawatomi Sportsbook, which we are going to be at on December 29th when the Packers go over to US Bank Stadium to take on the Minnesota Vikings. We are going to be there, and I did not mention, and I apologize, I did not mention the name of the winner, and I will do that coming up here just before we have Mike Clemens at the bottom of the hour. And you know what? I'll wait till after 11 so everybody's on the network, but I didn't do it on Thursday, and I apologize because I had it set up for Friday, and it was all my fault. So I completely apologize for that. So anyway, long story short, we will make that announcement coming up just after 11 o'clock for all of you that have been liking us and following us and such over on all the social media platforms. We've got a person, we'll say, a friend who collects all that data now, and they take all those names and put them in. I don't know how the program works, but the program basically kind of spins the wheel, and everybody that has followed us on X, on Facebook, on Twitter, on all that different, on Instagram and all that stuff, it all goes into a pot, and then we draw a winner. So we're going to do one over the next couple of weeks, all the way up, leading up to the game itself. So we're looking forward to it. 877-867-1670. So we'll get back at it, but our friends at Potawatomi Hotel Casino bring you this portion of the Bill Michaels Show. Go to paysbig.com. That is paysbig.com. Let's go to Jim in Waukesha. Jim, how you doing, man? What's going on?
Hey, doing well. How about you?
Doing good today. What you thinking?
Bill, bringing up the past memories here on the Detroit game, 4th down and 1. They're gambling goes for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make a lot of sense. Wondering why the Packers didn't call. I don't know what you called it when you were playing football, but it was all out run, blitz, stuff it.
Mm-hmm.
11 men to the ball. Just jam it.
Yeah.
I mean, if they get the first down, they're going to win the game, right?
Right. Completely agree.
Why didn't the Packers send the entire house? What are they playing pass for? Who cares if they pass the ball?
I don't know.
If they get a first down, they're going to take a knee at the 1 yard line, kick the field goal. If they get 1.5 yards, they're going to they're going to stop the clock or whatever, let it run down to 3 seconds, kick the field goal.
Mm-hmm.
Their only option is to get a first down, and the Packers didn't send the house. Why is that?
Don't know. I appreciate the phone call. I don't know. We used to call it fire drill. I mean, that was ours. When it was fire drill, all hands on deck, everybody up. You always had like a safety back just in case, but beyond that, it was you were trying to come off the edge with a corner. You were trying to bring an extra safety, linebackers up the gut. Very rarely would you not send, say, 8 guys. Because there's only usually 7 up front if they go to a full 12 package. But I don't know. I don't know why you didn't try to do that. I thought it was very non-aggressive early on, too, in that ballgame. Yeah, go ahead, Grant.
I would love to look at that play with like a defensive football coach to point out, because that's a great question, not something I thought about. We got Gerard and we got to get to Mike, so we can maybe circle back to this later on in the show. Bill, I feel so robbed as someone who listens to a lot of sports talk and watch TV. If the Packers stuff the Lions on that play and win the game because of it, Dan Campbell is getting
roasted,
killed on Friday. And a lot of people were celebrating Dan Campbell going for it on 4th down, and I think that's smart to get the extra points, the touchdowns instead of field goals. But I just want to know what that alternate world on Friday would have been like, because it's a standalone game. Everyone was watching it. Everyone was going to react to it on Friday. Like, Dan Campbell would have gotten killed.
Yep.
And of course, I wanted the Packers to win, but that would have been an interesting day in sports media. I guess,
it would have been huge. He would have gotten shredded like he got shredded after the Super Bowl. For being, stupidly aggressive, recklessly aggressive, maybe might be the best term for it. All right, let's get to our buddy Gerard before we get to Mike Clemens here at bottom of the hour. Gerard, what's going on, man? How you doing today?
Hey, Bill. How you doing? It seems for the last 6 years, the Packers have a lot of ifs.
Yes.
So they ought to worry about their own ifs.
Right.
And not just the other team's ifs, okay? Because this guy's won nothing in 6 years. Let me tell you, Goody's last 4 first-round picks, people ought to look at that. They've all been pedestrian. There's a lot of guys to get rid of. And our defensive coordinator is a fraud. Absolute fraud. I mean, anybody want to talk, can't challenge that. He talks a good game. All these media and all this other stuff, and the media is complicit with him. The whole bit, but basically, it's a fraud. Goody's off when he had a chance to get Mitchell and DeGene, he didn't. We got a guy who knows how he's going to be an offensive lineman, where our offensive line was already decent. The biggest thing of the offseason, if he doesn't go out and sign a super high-end defensive pass rusher and a big-time linebacker and get rid of some of these pedestrian guys and do it, then he's going to be a failure. There's 2 big things at Jacobs and McKinney, which were brilliant. I got to give him credit for that. And right now, the Rams would run Green Bay out of the stadium if they had to play him in Los Angeles. And let me tell you something, Bill, is there a better chance that they lose 3 of the last 4 or they win 3 of their last 4 the way they're playing? I don't think they're going to be Seattle or Minnesota, and I don't think they're better than either one of them and the whole bit. And they're poorly coached in big spots all the time, and there's a lot to do on this team. And I tell you what, if I was in charge, it'd be a lot of pink slips going around. I could tell you that.
There's some contracts that are bad.
See it for what it is.
I agree with you, Gerard. I got to run here. Appreciate the phone call. There's a lot of bad right now that is just it shows up better than average against lesser opponents. But against the better opponents, they are still getting beat. And I agree with you on the first round picks. Lucas Van Ness, not showing me much. Not at all. I mean, you can go through the whole listing of these first round picks that have been had. And Jordan Morgan, obviously, he started out the season banged up, and it's kind of nice when you don't have to play your first round pick and all that kind of stuff. So that's okay. But Lucas Van Ness, not showing me much. Quay Walker has just now, after a 2022 draft choice, just now started to show me some things. Devontae Wyatt, shows up at times. He's rather quiet. Stokes is, unfortunately, because of his injury, I just think he's done. And he's not that good. I just, you go through the last 4 years of these picks, and not one of them is really, truly contributing as a first-round pick should. I agree with you 100%. Let's do this. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. Mike Clemens is going to join us. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show on this Monday right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
They are going. And then Goff falls down, but Montgomery is able to pick up the first down. So Goff falls down as he's making the handoff, and this should seal it. They'll run the clock down, kick the field goal. What a call. Ball game. 34-31 Lions.
Mike Clemens joining us now on the hotline, brought to you by the Bay Motel in Green Bay. They've got packages available for the NFL draft coming up at the end of April. Call them 920-494-3441 or go to baymotelgreenbay.com. That is baymotelgreenbay.com. And Mike, it was like I got away from it over the weekend. And then today I started prepping for the show, and I got mad all over again for the Packers losing in Detroit. And you and I talked about a little bit about it. It's like they're just good enough to win, but they're not. And they're good enough to basically lose against the teams that are just a tick better than them. So kind of a tough pill to swallow over the weekend.
Yeah, first of all, I got to say thank you and Kristen and everybody that you had for staff and stuff on a tremendous company and friends Christmas party, at your place over the weekend. That's just awesome. Today, the Packers will be back in meetings. I'm sure the coaches spent a lot of the time going over the tape over the weekend, and then we'll hear from LaFleur for the first time. Dan Campbell also, his team took the weekend off, but they'll come back out today to sort of analyze some of the things that went down in Thursday night's game. But Bill, one of the things that that happened right away is getting into that Packers locker room, a losing locker room, the visitors at Ford Field there was trash talking. I mean, there was so much energy in that place. The Lions fans have transformed that place. The Lions PA crew and the music, the tempo, the rhythm of the place, it's better than U.S. Bank. U.S.
Wow.
Bank, I think, tends to be annoying as a fan sometimes with that skull and stuff. But this thing is right on. I mean, these people are yelling and screaming at the exact moments to the point where in those first couple of drives, I clearly think that Love and the Packers offense, as much as they'd practiced their silent count last week and have been through this before, the communication was zero in those first couple of drives. And then when they started running the ball, that helped them get off the ball faster. And Tucker Kraft, you go to him and, hey, can you believe that for like the fifth time in the game, at the end of the game, rather than just kick the field goal with 43 seconds left, that Dan Campbell goes for it again, and here's Jared Goff falling down on his knee, still able to get the ball into Isaiah McDuffie or into David Montgomery's hands, and he runs off to the right hand side behind their best tackle, Penei Sewell, since Decker was out, their best guy, and they get 7 yards on that. And Tucker Kraft said, yeah, this is Danger Dan Campbell at work, going for it on 4th and 1 instead of kicking the field goal.
No, but we know that this offense, it's something they do. Dan Campbell, it's Danger Dan. That's what they call him, I guess. But I think our defense, they did their best. They played great ball. We had a turnover. We as a team, as a unit, we came up short.
That's how Dan has done it throughout the course of his career. And so it doesn't necessarily surprise me, but that gave us an opportunity there. We just, hats off to them. They executed and we didn't.
Here's an amazing stat, Bill.
Yeah, go ahead.
Since Dan Campbell took over as the head coach of the Lions, how many times have they gone for it on 4th down? 140 times, and they've converted 77. And so people were saying, well, he was going for it on 4th down because, his defense was so depleted. There were 4 guys that started for him on defense Thursday night that had not been with the Detroit Lions a week before, signing guys off the street. And as I told you, leading into the game, they've got 18 guys on IR, 13 of them are defensive players. So the Packers were losing the third string practice squad and guys off the street in that. And you know what? The Lions defense played a lot of man coverage, a lot of cat coverage, as Leroy Butler would say. You got that cat, I got this cat.
Right.
Kept it simple. And so you had that stuff going on. And this is what, Campbell, for Dan Campbell, it's like, this not just to say I don't trust the defense. This is, I trust the offense are going to get this on fourth down. And if they don't, I trust my defense can get this out. One time they didn't, and Jordan Love took over at the 30-yard line and then, had a touchdown drive. But 4 times, 2 of those times led the Lions touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mike, I as much as I like what Dan Campbell does, and it's kind of like I wish he'd bring that badass mentality, but you're right. He's only been like a little bit above 50% when it goes for on fourth down, but he was 4 of 5 in that game the other night.
Yeah, and so then there's other stuff that's going on, the trash talking, like Matt LaFleur before the game. Why is he yelling at a Lions fan on the field before the game? It turns out the guy got tracked down by Channel 7 in Detroit, and his name is Yusuf. He's a Middle Eastern guy, so he's using this cutthroat symbol while he's supposed to be down there holding the flag. They ended up eventually escorting him out of the stadium before halftime. But LaFleur said, I got this guy on the field, first yelling at my players, then giving this cutthroat sign. I mean, this is a security risk. Here's LaFleur after the game.
Yeah, I've never been a part of something like that. He was talking junk to our players, giving them the throat slash sign. You're trying to de-escalate it, and then he gets in my face. So I thought it was pretty unsportsmanlike. Like, I've never seen that. I've been on many fields, and usually they police that much better. I thought it was an arrogant fan that, wanted to get in part of the action. I would like to see security or something step in there and get him out of there, because he shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, if the NFL wouldn't allow a player to be doing it to anybody on the field, come on. That is a little bit ridiculous, and I get it.
Well, good point. And you know how much security we've got to go through now with the face recognition and the badges and all the different checkpoints. But, hey, you want to come on down and hold the flag? No problem. You can be 10 feet away from the players and the coach, and be nuts. So, and then the trash talk. And Terry and Arnold is their young 21-year-old defensive back out of Alabama, who's getting a lot of playing time this year because of all the injuries. And he talked about how they played man coverage, and he claims that there was a lot of disrespect from the Packers trash talking and from the Packers media.
With the game was kind of chippy because their players were saying a lot of stuff about us. And one thing about it, we don't tolerate disrespect. All disrespect must be addressed. Coach just talked about carrying your load. So I know what I bring to the table. And then I know even as far as just going out there and executing and challenging receivers and making the plays that come to you. And I know even just being vocal, although I'm young, but just stepping into a leadership role and just going out there and just executing, I have to just continue to grow every day.
What do you say about your defense that you guys have lost so many players on defense?
We're the best in the league at what we do. We got the best defensive coordinator in the league, and we got the best coach in the league. And I said, one thing about it, we got a whole bunch of savages on this defense. So when somebody goes down and AG or Dan calls somebody else, they're calling another savage. And then you get that savage, you put them in the room, with most savages, what you get? You got a whole bunch of savages. So that's what it is. It was kind of crazy just watching, because I'm not really into the media and stuff. Like AG just saying, like, guys, they really don't think we could go out here and execute. Like, dude, we have the best secondary in the league. We go out there and teams know we playing man, and we go out there and play man. Like, we're not one of those teams that just sit back and just sit in zones. Like AG and Dan, they brought us all in here for a reason, and we go out there and execute the game plan.
The one thing, Mike, that was kind of reiterated over and over again was the fact that the Packers and Packers fans felt like they were screwed because of the officials. And I don't necessarily believe that.
Yeah, the crew, the John Hussey referee crew, they usually tend to let these guys play, but they seem to be calling everything. I don't looking for excuses. You're looking for reasons. Right. But Keyshawn Nixon, Grant Bills took a still shot of the game of Keyshawn clearly being held. And yet there's these other times where you got Zadarius Smith smacking Jordan Love in the head, other hold situations. And then you got the one toward the end of the game where it looks like Josh Jacobs is wide open on the right for a touchdown, and they call pass interference on Christian Watson. And Keyshawn talked about that's the thing that disappointed him the most.
Honestly, it was that I think the penalty in the red zone. They called like a bogus offensive PI, should have touchdown. Team like that, you got to put them away. We ain't put them away. No matter how good we are, they good too. We got to play ball. We can't play ball, but they at home. They got the call. Whoever on the field got to play to the standard what we got. Like I told you before, I've been in that role where, you get thrown in, you got to play ball. Nobody gives a you got to play ball. You get out there, everybody got to play. And they can't play. We can't play. Clash of the Titans, they got the dub.
That's basically what it is. I mean, I hate to blame the officials for losses, and because it's a play. If you want to stop them before that, stop them after that. But it's a play, so it's
what could have been a touchdown for the Packers and go up like 35-31 toward the end of the game. A touchdown to Josh Jacobs. Christian Watson is running a crosser across the field, and Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, he's got those defensive backs saying, "Hey, when you see a guy like that, you set a pick." Make it look like you're being picked on. And Christian Watson said, I'm just running a route, and they're calling pass interference on me.
I mean, just got to try to find a way to avoid him. It's not even a pick play, so I'm not even trying to pick for anybody. So I wasn't, looking in there trying to, navigate anything like that because I'm on the backside of the play. He just turned and looked at me and saw me and just ran straight at me. I just got to find a way to avoid it.
Which is true. Look, if you're being taught that defensively and you're winning because of the loophole in the rule or whatever it happens to be, or because you figured out a better technique, then they beat you. Then coaching beat you.
Yeah, and one of your defensive leaders, captains, of course, is Xavier McKinney, the safety in the back end. And, he was asked, the Lions converted 4 out of 5 first downs, including the critical one at the end of the game on 4th and 1, where at least Jordan could have got back on the field with 40 seconds left. And here's what McKinney said.
It wasn't good enough on our side of the ball defensively, and we just got to find ways to get stops. We got to find ways to generate more turnovers to put our offense in a better spot. Yeah, that's kind of what it is. We got to get the stop. When we need to get the stop, we got to get the stop.
And which is true, Mike. The other thing is like they screened them to death. And when you go back and watch it, you see a lot of the screenplays where the Packers have 2 guys coming and they've got 3 blockers in front of them. I couldn't figure out why you couldn't figure out the damn screenplay.
Right, and why you can't make that kind of adjustment.
Right.
Because Ben Johnson kept on throwing those screens and getting first downs on some 3rd and longs. And Isaiah McDuffie, who did a tremendous job, he had 11 tackles, and it was still the 3rd quarter. He finished the night with 15 combined tackles. I said, Isaiah, you did a great job, but man, why couldn't you stop the Lions screenplay?
Just setting the edge. We got to run to the ball at the end of the day. Getting guys out of the stack. I think, it's challenging. They're good too. And that's just practice. We got to get out there and practice that and get practice reps with that. And, we'll get that fixed. Definitely. Yeah, screens are always tough because, you got to get those guys out of the D lineman, retracing. You got to set an edge. Screens are always tough. And, they're a good team at doing it. It's something they do, and they're good at it.
Let's do this. We'll step out. We'll take a quick break. We're talking to Mike Clemens. We'll take a quick break, come right back, and wrap up this hour with Mike. Stay tuned. We got more right after this.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Ho, 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 my back.
Santa?
Ho, 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 Gina Della from Pella. You've been a good girl this year.
Is that why you're in here building new windows?
Yes. Next year, how about just asking for a Pella gift card? My elves are used to designing windows from other places where they're all pretty much the same. But Pella? Ho, ho, ho. So many customizations and designs. My elves aren't qualified, so Santa has to put in some overtime. Ho,
Let me make a call. BRB.
Frighteningly fast pellet team at your service. Let us take it from here, Mr. Claus. And Gina, next time.
Yeah, I know. Santa already lectured me. Ask for a Pella gift card.
What if you need new windows or doors, but you're on the naughty list?
Right now at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, get as low as $19 per window and $81 per patio door per month.
Ho, ho, ho. Visit the Pella site and to all a good night.
PellaWI.com. Certain restrictions apply and 12/31/2024.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute.
Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere.
Cleveland picked up the phone, called the Lions, and began conversations that culminated on Tuesday morning when the two sides agreed to a deal that would send Zadarius Smith, the three-time Pro Bowl defensive end, to Detroit, which is his third home in the NFC North, having played before for Green Bay and Minnesota.
Love off the play fake. Under pressure. Look out. Sacked at the 23-yard line. Play action, that doesn't work.
Good to have you back. Packers lose on Thursday night. Now it's just about seeding and getting better heading into the postseason, trying to get hot into the postseason, get healthy into the postseason. Mike Clemens joining us on the hotline, brought to you by the Bay Motel in Green Bay. So, Mike, look, the guy that did have a good night, and I could not understand why they got away from it in a couple of series, but Josh Jacobs was running the ball pretty well. And the next thing you know, they're doing flea flickers and putting themselves in bad down and distance situations. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing the play calling wise when things are working? You don't go away from it.
No, by the fourth drive, they start handing off the ball to Josh Jacobs and pushing back on that Lions defensive line. Josh Jacobs turns out to be, one of the answers in the red zone. And so he ends up scoring, 3 touchdowns in that game the other night. And I think he's repeating what LaFleur told these guys in the locker room after the game, that, you know what, keep your heads in this game and in this season, because we'll probably be back here in Ford Field as a wild card team. And here's what Jacob said after the game.
Yeah, we're gonna see him again. That's the beauty of it all. Take these feelings, process them, and go back to work.
I hope they do, and it's very hard for one team to beat an NFL team 3 times in the same season, especially when you're playing so close and tightly contested games. So that bodes well for the Packers, I guess, right?
Let me ask you. I think I saw this stat though, that in the 19 times that 2 teams have faced each other 3 times, the winner of the first 2 has got really good odds of winning the third one. I think it's like only 6 times that that the losing team was able to win in the playoffs? We'll have to double check that today. But Jordan Love was, always the optimist and say, hey, let's not talk about January. Let's talk about that we got to get past the Seahawks and the Saints and these other teams right now.
That's one thing that we just got to continue to take it a week at a time, like we always talk about. Obviously, we got a couple games left here, and we're trying to finish on the right note and win out these last couple games, and handle business, take it one game at a time, and obviously, we'll see what happens postseason time.
I hope that he's right. I hope that the Packers are able to kind of right this ship and be able to get him again. And that would mean that they've gone pretty deep into the postseason. At least they've gotten one win at that point. So we kind of cross our fingers in that. But Mike, experience-wise at Ford Field and your gut reaction when you left that place?
They are all in Detroit. They have billboards that say all in. There's TV anchor women in promos saying, Sue Smith today at 5 wearing T-shirts that say all in. They want the Super Bowl now. They think that this is their chance. The next team that the Packers are going to play are Seattle. In Seattle Sunday night, and they beat the Cards yesterday. Of course, Kyler Murray threw them 2 interceptions. They turned into touchdowns. That was 14 points there. Vikings looked tremendous yesterday. It's not going to be an easy road to win these next 4 to make sure that you lock in and secure a wild card position and are ready for the start of that postseason. But injury-wise, I saw Evan Williams, the safety, clearly was suffering from a concussion in the locker room. Javon Bullard, the rookie defensive back, he left for the team bus on crutches with that ankle injury. We're talking to LaFleur later today, and then they're going to open up the locker room for us.
All right, Mike, talk to you later. Here we go. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, with the Green Bay Packers taking on the Detroit Lions for Thursday Night Football, we saw Sunday's action conclude in the NFL, and the Minnesota Vikings built a 2-game lead over Green Bay for the top wildcard spot in the NFC, beating the Atlanta Falcons to move to 11-2 on the year. With the playoffs looming, the Packers still have a 98% chance of making it, but Jordan Love says they're not worried about that right now. They're taking it one game at a time.
That's one thing that we just got to continue to take it a week at a time, like we always talk about. Obviously, we got a couple games left here, and we're trying to finish on the right note and win out these last couple games and, handle business, take it one game at a time. And obviously we'll see what happens postseason time.
Up next for the Packers, they're in Seattle taking the Seahawks for Sunday Night Football. Turning to Wisconsin, they're reportedly close to naming their new offensive coordinator, Jeff Grimes, who held the title of OC and assistant head coach at Kansas this past season, will replace Phil Longo. Grimes got his first offensive coordinator job back at BYU, helping the Cougars average 43.5 points per game in 2020. Then he spent 3 years in Baylor before having won with Kansas.
ABC of Wisconsin is the largest apprenticeship program in the state, with more than 2,000 active apprentices in 12 different skilled trades. In the ABC apprenticeship program, you earn while you learn on the job, get paid to go to class, and graduate with a job in your craft, but without the huge college debt. Explore 12 different construction trades in one spot at buildyourcareerwi.org or just search online for ABC of Wisconsin.
Last night, Giannis Antetokounmpo had 34 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 assists as the Bucks snapped a 2-game losing streak with a 118-113 victory over the Brooklyn Nets. And finally, Wisconsin basketball looking to bounce back after losing to Marquette on Saturday as they go to Champaign to take on the Fighting Illini of Illinois tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Welcome in on a Monday edition of the Green and Gold Monday, that is. Welcome to everybody on the network. We certainly appreciate you being here. As always. Hopefully you are doing well. Talking some Packers football. We just heard from Mike Clemens a little while ago. And I'll tell you this. I mean, Packers-wise, we can talk about the trash talk and we can talk about, the officiating, and you can go through through the laundry list of reasons why the Packers did not win that game. The bottom line is, and I said this in the open, they're good enough to lose to those teams. They're better than the average team. The record is what they are. But when you consistently see a screen pass that comes at you, and they are bringing 2 blockers or 3 blockers, and you're bringing 1 or 2 blockers, my question is why? Why are you not bringing more to see that screen? Or are you that inept that you don't see it because they're killing you with it? You don't have the ability to stop it. They wanted to basically smash you in the mouth defensively because they didn't have players, and they did early on, getting you off your mark, kind of setting the tone for the game. Now, I give the Packers all the credit in the world for the way they came out in the second half. But again, they play a half of football. They do not play a full game. They have played 1 full complete game this year. That's it. That's it. 1 full complete game. Beyond that, they either, and I even tweeted this, and I think I saw Peter Bukowski say that they didn't look prepared. They look like they got punched in the face, something to this extent. Again, I'm going through Cliff Notes version here. But basically, the Dan Campbell team looked prepared, ready, angry. Here we go. We're going to punch you in the mouth. And the Packers looked stunned, unprepared, disorganized, and like they couldn't believe that they were being punched in the mouth. And I completely concur. Completely concur. You can't allow that to continually happen. And we've seen that now far too often this season, where they've got to play this scramble to come back in ball games, and they end up falling short. We saw it against Detroit. We saw it against Minnesota. Philadelphia looked better than they did. You turn the ball over. Obviously it wasn't a turnover from Jordan Love. It was a turnover from Christian Watson, and you ended up evening that up. You get a couple of short field scores because your defense did its job. And now you got the defense saying, we need to get more turnovers. No, you shouldn't have to get more turnovers. It's great if you do. It's an asset. It is a plus. But the bottom line is, you, offensively speaking, you came out slow. There was times that I didn't understand your play calling. You were running the ball with Josh Jacobs and company dominantly, and suddenly you're going to flea flickers. That it's why. And basically when it didn't work, you were in a down and distance situation that you weren't going to run the ball. And then when you don't run the ball, you're giving into what it is they want to do. And that is, we don't have a great front four. We're going to figure out blitzes and just come after you and smash you the best we can and put an all-out pressure on Jordan Love. He was only sacked once, but he was pressured, to my count, was about 9-10 times. I don't know what the official count was. I'd have to go back and check it. But he was pressured. He was under pressure in that ball game. And it's because they just said, look, we can't win another way. They had him down for 7 pressures. Seven quarterback hurries. I had 9.
And I think 6 of those were in the first half, because Domofsky tweeted out 10 of his 6 dropbacks in the first half he was pressured. So they did get better as the game went along. A lot of it was the Lions kind of catching them with their pants down at the beginning.
Yeah. But that, to me, that goes to what Peter Bukowski said, is you look unprepared. You look unprepared. And that is a direct reflection of Matt LaFleur. And again, Matt LaFleur, very good coach. I'm not, it's just in this particular game, in this particular moment, when you absolutely positively had to come out and set the tone, you failed. You failed. You waited for the second half to make the adjustment. And by then, you'd already put yourself in a hole. You came out and you tied the game, you went ahead, but everybody knows over the middle, over the screen passes and over the middle, you can't defend. You're garbage, man. You just are. And that's the Achilles heel. Again, a defense that can't get off the field. And people are, well, I just had somebody that emailed me, and this is from City Chris. City Chris says, I don't know why you're always picking on the defense. The numbers from last year to this year are remarkably different. The defense continues to get better. And he goes on and on to talk about the difference of protection, the better transformation of Quay Walker, Xavier McKinney getting the picks. And I understand all of that. But you can't prove me wrong, because the proof is in the pudding. When you look at the actual statistics of this game, the Packers defensively on third down gave up 7 of 15 for 46.7%. They gave up 4 of 5 fourth downs. So they were 11 for 20 on third and fourth down, which is better than 55%. If you can't hold an opponent to 32% or less, you're garbage. So don't tell me how great this defense is because they got a couple of guys that are starting to play a little bit better. The bottom line is you're catching up to maybe even. You're not catching up to elite. You're catching up to even. And that's where the Packers defensively are. Yes, they're better. I completely concur. Statistically, they are better than where they were last year. They're 9th overall in scoring, but they dropped a couple of slots over the last few weeks. They went from 10th to 13th now in overall defense. 10th to 13th in overall defense. You want to know where their passing defense is? Right now, I think they're 20th. Is their pass defense giving up 222.2 yards per game? I think they're 20th. The rushing defense has gotten better. They're top 10. They're only giving up 106.9 points a game. But what teams are doing is they'll run a little bit and then they'll gut you down the middle because they don't have good coverage. And without Jair, it's bad. You don't have that counter. Keyshawn Nixon is a nickel guy. He's not a full-time corner. And you don't have another full-time corner to go alongside him because you were relying on Stokes. Stokes had a great offseason. He came back from the ankle surgery, but either he has really poor instincts, doesn't understand it, or he's just slow and has not been able to rehabilitate properly and come back from that devastating ankle injury. And I don't fault him because if he can't do it, he can't do it. But you banked on the wrong guy and you've lost. You've gotten better against subpar teams. You have not gotten better than better teams.
I think their defense it's tough, right? Because they've given up 30 plus against Philly, Minnesota, and Detroit. And it's hard to look at that and explain that away. I just think Thursday night's game, considering they lost basically all their safeties and they didn't have their second linebacker and they didn't have Jair, I actually thought they did okay because they shut down the run. They forced a turnover. They got a turnover on downs. Kenny Clark looked awesome. And Kenny Clark after the game said, look, if we're a little bit better situationally, we win if they stop one of those 4th and goals. And I know they're giving up around 30, but Packers fans, I know they're so close. They're in our division, so we don't hear it. The Lions are friggin' good. They're really good. So if the defense gives up 28, like on a night like that, the offense might have to score 31 or 35 to win. Like the defense wasn't far off. It was really those 2 4th and goals. If they stop one of those, this is a different game.
Right. And that's exactly my point is you're good enough to lose. You're good enough to be in a game with those teams. You're just not good enough to pull it off right now. So going back to what you state and talking about with Kenny Clark did have a really good game. So if you go back to that and you say, well, if you have Edgerrin Cooper, if you have Jair, if you have a couple of these guys back, are you better than them or at least on a level playing field to where offensively then you can rely on Jordan Love to beat them? Jordan Love has gotten substantially better since he's really recuperated from the knee injury and the groin pull. He looks better. I question, like I said, more so some of the play calls than I do Jordan Love or the execution of some of that. I was really surprised the offensive line got pushed around so much in the first half of that ballgame. I was just stunned. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Because some of this wasn't even a matter of, hey, they're doing things that are confusing you. This was just like the offensive line was surprised that the guys they just picked up off the street beat their ass. They're coming back shaking their head and they're looking at each other like, what the hell, and that to me, when you lose in the trenches man-to-man, that to me more than anything, when you see a guy like Sean Ryan get walked back, when you see a guy God, I'm thinking I've lost my train of thought now, to be honest with you.
Well, Josh Meyer probably had one of his worst games
had a terrible
forever.
Game. Yep.
Yeah.
Josh Meyer had a terrible game. That's who I was thinking of. When you look and you suddenly see Zach Tom got beat a couple of times, Rasheed Walker got beat once. Even Elton Jenkins, he got called for a hold, and he was holding because in the first couple of pass rushes, he was getting walked back. Where the pocket, where they weren't getting beat in the sense of guys were getting around him, they were just getting manhandled and pushed back and collapsing the pocket. And that to me was just surprising by an offensive line that has been so stellar all season long. So anyway, my point being is they're just, can they get better? Yes. Is there gloom and doom on the horizon? Beat a good team. Beat a good team. Beat one of the teams that are ahead of you right now.
That's the thing. If they have one win in those 3 games against Minnesota, Detroit, and Philly, I think we view this differently. And I screenshotted this earlier. The Lions and the Packers or Vikings are 28-3 against everyone outside of the division. Right. Like the Vikings, Lions, and Packers are all just really good. And I know it's frustrating to lose the Vikings and Packers or Lions. It drives me nuts. But if we zoom out a little bit, this team is still really, really good. It's just they haven't been able to notch that one big win yet.
I completely agree. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You can text us 608-321-1670, 608-321-1670. That's the text line. I'll get to those coming up here shortly. If you want to hit us up on YouTube and watch the program and subscribe to it, it's absolutely free. We appreciate it. Go to youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show, youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show. You can always listen to us anywhere and everywhere on the app, WOZN, The Zone Madison. The Zone Madison. We are on X, on Twitter, at Bill_Michaels, at Wisco Grant. You can find Grant there. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitch TV, Kick TV, on those apps, on LinkedIn as well. You can email the program, TheBillMichaels@gmail.com, the website, TheBillMichaels.com, and afterwards on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Google Podcasts, wherever your favorite podcasts are. I do got a couple that I want to get to here real quick. This is from Steve. Said, good day. It was disappointing that the Packers couldn't muster a stop on 4th down to convert their own on Thursday. The Packers had their chances to come away with a win, but the better team actually outclassed them. Eric Stokes has to come to an end ASAP. That era is done. He said, I agree with you. The Packers need a dominant pass rusher or two. Looking at the potential free agents in 2025 and the cap room the Packers will have, I would like them to run at Hassan Reddick from the Jets or Osa Ogunzuma from the Detroit Lions. I would also like them to look for another veteran defensive back, such as Javarius Ward or Asante Samuel Jr. With the winter meetings underway, do you see the Brewers making any moves at all? Will Devin Williams be traded? Will they sign some free agents? Any other trade possibilities? I hope you guys I hope you get the fish fillets before the holidays. There's nothing better than a real fish fry, the walleye, and the pike. Have a great week. That is our buddy Steve in Ridgefield. As far as the Brewers go, and I talked about this earlier today. Now, I haven't really delved into the Brewers a whole lot as far as them making moves. I know that they've got some things that they are trying to do, but the Juan Soto story today that broke, that he 15 years, $750 million is just, it's wonderful for Juan Soto and for any player out there that wants to see the level continue to rise. But it is the absolute epitome of what is wrong with Major League Baseball. As a fan of Major League Baseball, I should be, going, wow, that's incredible. And instead it made me sad. It made me sad because, and I bring this only up because I was watching baseball tonight as the season was ending for the Yankees, and Carl Ravitch saying that, 30 teams are going to pull out their checkbooks. And I tweeted at him right away. I said, no, there's maybe three that can afford to do what they're about to do. And that's the sad thing about Major League Baseball, is where we're at, is you eliminate not just the Brewers, but you eliminate the Royals, you eliminate the Reds, you eliminate the Pirates, you eliminate the Tampa Bay Rays. You can go through, you can eliminate St. Louis. You can go through a laundry list of teams that are not big market, that don't have that kind of money. And this is the reason you need a salary cap and you need a salary floor. And you need you need a length of contract time as well. Now, by the time that contract ends, I would assume Juan Soto is going to be nothing more than an albatross around the New York Mets when it comes to their capability to spend. But they've got the richest owner in the league who basically says, no, I can wipe my butt with that money. Who cares? And that's the disappointing thing about it. It's not going to deter any other major market owner from spending that kind of money, even though we know that contract, you're never going to get the ROI on that. Never. If you get a World Series, okay, so be it, but you're never going to get the overall ROI on that. It's not going to happen.
The length is the thing for me, right? I roll my eyes at contracts that everyone knows it. Like, you all know it's a bad contract, right? Like, because he's not going to be worth that. And I just remember when the Brewers signed Lorenzo Cain, and everyone's like, well, it's a 5-year deal. The 4th and 5th years probably won't be great, but that's fine. It's like, well, imagine signing a guy for 15 years. Like, that's ridiculous to me. Yeah. So I understand it's their one big deal. It's not like football or basketball where you want more bites at the contract apple, to use a David Stearns quote, but it's the 15 years that drives me nuts. That's going to be a bad contract by year 8 or 9, probably at the latest. So that's what drives me nuts. But
nope, whatever. I agree. Dr. Pepper over on the text line says, Gerard, and Mike Clemens say the Packers haven't beaten a good team in a long time. I've never said that. I've said they haven't beaten a good team this year. Last year, they ended up going into Dallas and winning in the postseason. They have beaten good teams. Just this year, they have not. They've not gotten substantially better. And the question always is, because what we were relying upon is what we see coming out of last season. I'm talking specifically this year. Getting into the postseason last year and getting the win, going to Dallas, that was impressive. Winning down the stretch last year, that was impressive. And as to what they did and how they did it. Going in and beating Detroit on Thanksgiving Day was impressive in what they did last year. So I'm talking this season. They have not been able to get over the hump over those teams that are considered to be the top dogs. And we could even say, if you want to go back to last year, nobody was really believing in the Cowboys. Even though the Cowboys had a 12-win season, I don't believe in the Cowboys because Dak Prescott sucks in the postseason. So I never believe in the Cowboys in the postseason. So getting that win in Dallas, that was very impressive. I loved it. But I also look back on it and say, and again, I'm not negating that win. Not at all. But Dak Prescott sucks in the postseason. He chokes every freaking year. He chokes. And that's the reason that the Dallas Cowboys keep throwing the money at him because he's good from point A to point B, but he can't get you to point C. Keep doing it. He's like Kirk Cousins, man. Keep paying him millions, keep paying him tens of millions, keep paying him 50 million. He's never going to get you to the promised land. He's that kind of a quarterback. And now we see Kirk Cousins in the beginning of the end of his demise as Atlanta is just, 2 more picks yesterday.
Here's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Because of Rodgers and Kirk Cousins, and I know they're both coming off Achilles, but general managers are going to think long and hard for a long time about giving a contract to an aging quarterback now.
Absolutely.
Look at what Sam Darnold's doing, Geno Smith. Like, why would I go get the 38-year-old,
right?
Even if he's not coming off an Achilles injury? Like, I just think this is going to be such a cautionary tale in the future.
And look at the Sam Darnold thing, because now the question is, he's going to make money. What are you going to do if you're Minnesota? You're not going to go out and pay him $20 million a year or whatever it is he's about to make, or $30 million, or somebody's going to fall on their head and do it. But
some report came out yesterday morning. I'll try to find it. A lot of the stuff conveniently comes out on Sunday mornings. They'll put out news that the Vikings had not approached Darnold about a contract extension yet.
No.
And that's kind of funny. He goes out and, has 5 touchdowns. But I would be very careful if I'm the Vikings about letting Darnold go. What if he wins him a playoff game or two?
Right.
You're just going to say, thank you very much. We're going to go to JJ McCarthy, who's an unknown. Like, that's tricky.
That's the question is, then if let's say Darnold's year is a one-hit wonder. Like, everything just came together for him. What if it's a one-hit wonder? You're banking on the fact that a guy that's basically made a career out of being bad and a backup suddenly being the guy? I wouldn't do that. That's Daniel Jones 2.0. He had one good season. That's it. I don't think I'd do it. But Sam Darnold's going to get money from somebody. Maybe the Raiders. If they don't get Shador, maybe the Raiders. Before it's all said and done. Let's do this. I got to take a quick break. We're woefully late for break. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends over there at Dream Vacations for all your resort, cruise, and sport travel needs. The cold is going to get here. As a matter of fact, I think the high coming in on Thursday is going to be like 13 or something like that. It's going to be cold. It's going to be cold. And maybe you start thinking about after the football season ends, you want to head out to Arizona in spring training. That'd be great. They can do sport trips. How about heading to an all-inclusive resort, or maybe taking a cruise, or maybe you want to get the friends together, go internationally, whatever. 414-208-4221. 414-208-4221. That is Dream Vacations. Let Michael and Melissa get you off to whatever it is you want to do, whatever destination it is you want to visit. Let them help you out and plan and book your next amazing getaway. That is Dream Vacations. 414-208-4221.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. You are out and about doing a little Christmas shopping, and you're heading out. Say you're going to Dale's downtown La Crosse. Going to go over there for a little bit, pick up a few things. Head over to Pearl Street. Check out our friends at Buzzard Billy's in the Starlight Lounge upstairs. Buzzard Billy's opened back in 1997 in that 1860s brick hotel. Beautiful place, but the food is fantastic. I've had more than a few people that have gone there and said, yeah, you were right. And I love to hear that. Not that I'm right, but just that they agree that Buzzard Billy's really good food, great atmosphere, cold beer. That's fantastic. Then you go upstairs, right? You go outside and you go upstairs to the next door right there at the Starlight Lounge. And that's like a 1950s style cocktail lounge. Really cool. And all the decor is just impeccably done. And they have got a great selection of craft martinis and wines and such. So head up to Starlight Lounge. Both places right there in La Crosse, and get yourself some Billy Bucks as well. That's Buzzard Billy's downstairs, Starlight Lounge upstairs on Pearl Street in La Crosse, Wisconsin. You're going to head out in that direction. All right, 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, please feel free. Go ahead and do so. Again, 877-867-1670. Let's see here. Got this one from Jason, who said, the Green Bay Packers, you are correct, are good enough to lose to the better teams. The good teams they are going to beat. The teams that are on their way to a Super Bowl are going to be the Packers every day of the week. And again, let me say this. I don't necessarily believe that the Packers can't beat those teams. I don't. What I believe is that the Packers more often than not will not beat those teams. They're good enough to compete with them. And what you need is a couple of plays that work out for you or a couple of correct calls. It just seems like there are times when it just doesn't happen for the Packers. It just doesn't happen. And I don't know how to put it. It's like sometimes they just don't make the right move, or they try to maybe outthink themselves or something. I don't know how to put it, but there are just times where it's not great. And I completely understand it, and I get it. And I don't have a level of hope that is higher, but I don't have a level of expectation that they're going to be winners in that particular sense.
this is what's tricky. We agree that they could beat Detroit if they played tomorrow. They could beat Philly. They could knock off any one of these teams on any given Sunday. The problem is because their division is so loaded, they're going to be in a wild card spot. And if they were to go on a run to, let's just say, make a Super Bowl, they're going to have to do it multiple times. And that's different, right? Going to Detroit and winning one game in a one-off is different than going to Seattle, going to Detroit, going to Philly. Like doing that 3 weeks in a row, that's becoming more and more of a seemingly unrealistic task for this team, the more that we watch them, at least.
Yeah, no, I agree. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, please feel free. Go ahead and do so. Who's this one? This is from Mike. Mike says, quickly says, hey guys, you are a little bit off the mark. I think the Packers are getting better, and with Jordan Love getting better, this team then can compete with anybody. All it takes is one or two plays here or there. Maybe the officials will side with us a few times, and I think the Packers are on the way to a Super Bowl. If you believe that wholeheartedly, then what do you want to bet? And I'm being a realist here. Some of that stuff I can agree with. I'm not agreeing that they're on the way to a Super Bowl. I just don't. I don't see it. They don't have a dominant defense. You have to be in the top 10 when you start to look at many of these defenses, many of these teams that are really, really good. Just look at it. Just look at these teams right now. If you go to points per game on average, the Chargers, who went toe-to-toe with Kansas City last night, they're one of the best defenses in the league. You got the Lions who are up there, the Eagles who are up there, the Steelers who are up there, the Vikings who are up there, the Chiefs who are up there, the Bills who are up there. The next team, Green Bay. They're outside of the top 10. That's points per game. Okay, points per game. Total defense. Philadelphia 1. Believe it or not, Tennessee's number 2. San Francisco, the Jets, defensively speaking. Houston, Kansas City, Pittsburgh. Miami's up there. Detroit's up there. Washington's up there. Buffalo is just behind the Green Bay Packers. And we saw what happened to Buffalo yesterday against the Rams because they got shredded by the Rams. Minnesota is actually at 337.8 yards per game given up. So which is a little bit surprising. Baltimore's defense is nowhere near what it used to be, which is the reason I look at Baltimore and think that I don't know if they're going to get there. I think the team right now to beat, even though they lost yesterday, I think still the team to beat coming out of the AFC is probably going to be Buffalo. The only thing that problematically wise, that's the problem with Buffalo on that side of the football right now is Buffalo is a couple of games behind Kansas City for the top spot in the AFC. Kansas City just continues to win. Buffalo has clinched the division. They're going to have a home game. But if you get to an AFC championship game, chances are it's going to be Kansas City. And Kansas City's remaining games are on the road at Cleveland. They've got the Texans at GEHA Stadium. Where they could run into a buzzsaw is at Pittsburgh against the Steelers. And then they got to go to Denver and take on the Broncos. I don't know what to make of the remainder of that schedule because I just, like we said last week, I can't keep picking against Kansas City because they keep figuring out ways to win. They should beat the Browns. They should beat the Texans. I don't know if they're going to beat the Steelers. But they should then beat the Broncos. If they get 3 more wins, Buffalo's not catching them. So that means the AFC Championship and the road to the Super Bowl is going to run through GEHA Stadium again. And Kansas City at home is a very, very, very good football team. I don't know if I can continue to go against them, so to speak. Coming up next, we're going to talk with our buddy Eric Baranek. We're going to talk with him and pick his brain as the Green Bay Packers and what they are. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We're going to come back. Got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show on this Monday, a green and gold Monday. Stay tuned. We got more after this.
Following Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Oh, my back.
Santa?
Gina Teller from Kala. Been a good girl this year.
Is that why you're into your buildings and windows?
Yes. Next year, how about just asking for a Pella gift card? My elves are used to designing windows from other places where they're all pretty much the same. But Pella, so many customizations and designs. My elves aren't qualified, so Santa has to put in some overtime.
Let me make a call. BRB.
Fighting Week has Pellet team at your service. Let us take it from here, Mr. Plus. And Jeff, next.
Yeah, I know. Santa already lectured me. Ask for a Pella gift card.
What if you need new windows for good? You're on the naughty list.
Right now at Pella Windows in Dorset, Wisconsin, get as low as $19 per window and $81 per patio door per month.
Ho, ho, ho. Visit the Pella site. And you all a good night.
PellaWI.com. Search supply and stuff 2024.
So Michael's always in 5 So Michael's always in 4 minutes. So Michael's always in 3 minutes. So Michael's always in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
There's got to be better situationally. They got some good. Just timing. You got to get timely stops. They got some fourth downs. Screen this to death for real. You guys just be better, in certain situations. But proud about how we fought. Guys just be better in situationally.
Good to have you back. Thanks for hanging out with us today on a Monday. Packers beating on Thursday night. Break down a little film. Eric Baranek of the Green Bay Press Gazette joining us over on the hotline. EB, how you been, pal?
Oh, pretty good. The good thing about having Thursday night games is that you got the whole weekend to, kind of filter things through your Swiss cheese memory and go through the whole thing over and over again. Watch a little football on Sunday to kind of put things into perspective. So it's been a great couple of days, man. I love it.
Look, you see Buffalo go into LA and they ended up getting beat. You saw a hard-fought game in U.S. Bank Stadium over the weekend. Kirk Cousins' homecoming was, made impossible because of a couple of bad throws and turnovers. So I get it. The Packers go into a hostile environment. They had a chance, numerous chances to win the game. They kind of, just didn't get off to a fast enough start. I understand all of that. But when you walked away from that game on Thursday night, what was your, a gut reaction?
My first initial reaction was to grab Michael Fuller and shake him up and say, stop being cute and just play ball. Play the football to this point instead of trying to be cute. My initial gut reaction. We should have won that ball game.
Yeah. I said that this team is good enough to lose. And I don't mean that as a derogatory statement. I just mean it as this team just they don't do enough and play enough complementary football. We've seen it once this year. They don't play enough complementary football for them to beat really good teams that are really vying for a Super Bowl. And the expectation was coming into the season by the way they played at the end of last season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally know what I mean. And it's hard because you got this cat and mouse team on defense that you got to play, especially against the Lions, where if you get after it and you try to send 5 or 6 guys as quarterback, he's going to beat you up. And the problem is they got 2 good backs that keep the ball in their hands in space and scared it. So they're going to pick up 4 or 5 yards every play. So you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. I'm going to heat this guy up, and it's smart enough and calm enough to be able to stand back and say, all right, let's see, I'm going to throw. I know my running back and my tight end is going to be right where you were, and I'm just going to dump it off there and away it goes. And that's what happened. So you can't get after too much. And on the offense, the way to beat them is you got to get up on them. You got to take them out of the running game. You got to get the score going. Keep the ball in your hands, score points, and now you get the lines up. They don't have the control of offense, and they got to whip the ball over the field. And that's not a good. The quarterback isn't good enough, in my opinion, to beat you. Because he goes through picks, and he did. He'll feel more if you put pressure on their offense, not because of your defense, but because of what you do on offense.
So I want to get into why they could not stop the screen pass. They were getting screen pass to death, and whether it was over the middle or the screen pass, they just didn't have the ability to stuff it. And when they did have an inkling that it was coming, they were sending 2 tacklers, 2 defenders versus 3 blockers. Was it that difficult for Jeff Heff to figure out that they just could not stop the screen pass?
Well, I mean, if you're going to tell me that the screen pass is going to is going to beat you. I'm a D coordinator. I'm going to be like, you can run screen passes all day long. You're not going to get 20, 30 yards on a screen pass. You're going to get 5 or 10, and that's what they did. So that was I don't know if it was a halfway thing or if it was, let's face it, Williams, third being out of the game was a big issue. You got another basically with a bunch of backups in your second. Was really good physical there, and one of the things that you can throw a lot of stones at Jair Alexander, but he's really good on the perimeter in the screen game, and you really saw his lack of absence there that showed up. And then of course you don't have Bullard for a portion of the game and Williams for a portion of the game. But that last drive was an indictment on the secondary more than anything else.
And that I would agree with. That last drive was just they couldn't get anything stopped. Now, on the other hand, you can say, well, you know what? The defensive front for Detroit was decimated. They were bringing pressure and whooping ass in the trenches early on in this ball game, which completely surprised me because when we made our picks on Wednesday, the one thing that I had Thursday when I had a ton of confidence in was the fact that the offensive line had really been one of the best pass blocking lines in all of football, and they got pushed around.
Well, how about we start running first of all, the first 2 series, they should have. I think they ran the ball once.
Right.
So you got a depleted linebacker group and a depleted defensive line. One of the strengths of this offense all season long has been putting the ball on the ground and pounding at it. And they decided to come out with the ball all over the field. And the first series would have been a 3-0 if they didn't get bailed up on a pass interference call. So now they got an extra 3 sets of downs, and they go with the ball around again. Run the dang ball. So it took them till their 4th possession in the second quarter for them to decide, okay, we got to go back to being Green Bay Packers football. They had a 14-play drive, 10 running plays, 10 of them. And that's an indictment on after them going out there and trying to be cute. And we're going to be real cute. The only unit on that defense that is still intact is the secondary. They had no other choice to get Packers out of it. The Packers did do a really good job of picking it up. No problem. But more importantly, there wasn't any hot reads. There wasn't any receivers breaking off when receivers out of the game, especially the slot receivers and tight ends. If they're going to blitz Packers, they have got to be a hot read. And you know that you play tight end, you get it. There's a hot read. You got to sit down in that zone and get the pressure up the quarterback. So when the linebacker screaming, he should be on top of the rest of his own team standard. Well, not have the wherewithal, and nor did the receivers catch it enough to be able to do that. So that's an experience thing. Second-year starter, a bunch of receivers that aren't mentally grasping the game the way they should be. And thirdly on that is, hey, you got your best receiver that's out there right now. He plays 25 steps, and you line him up in the backfield consistently. Are you kidding me? Jay should be playing in the slot and getting 5 to 6 targets downfield every single week, and he got 1 target. One, right? That is a travesty right there. Because he would be the guy, and I think he's got the wherewithal to know, hey, we got a blitz. I need to sit down and throw the little slant, throw the ball right there, and he's explosive and twitchy when the ball's in his hands, and yet they decide to throw screen passes to Wicks. It's inexplicable. I don't understand it. They're trying to be cute. Just do what got you there, and they win that ball game. I mean, they get down there and they had to kick that field goal because of a stupid call, which it was not a big play. It was a stupid call. And more importantly, on that play, where Jacobs caught that touchdown pass and they call it back for the offensive pass interference. That play was supposed to go to Jaden Reed, but where's Jaden Reed? He's lining up in the backfield. He tries to sneak out through the line of scrimmage. Not a bad play design, but he gets tripped on an offensive lineman's leg. So now your number 1 read is laying on the ground at 2 yards. On his back, you got to go back the other way. Fortunately, the running back is effective. Knows what he's doing. Gets in the open spot. Scores a touchdown. And they get a stupid foot penalty because the wide receivers, maybe he's mentally sharp as he needs to be. The reality is, that kid was close. They have the parts, like he said, just good enough. They have the pieces there to win, but they've got to get it together. And defensively is what's got to start.
Do you like the fact that they're in shotgun? So in this game, it was less, I admit it, but they're in shotgun so freaking much. It's better than 50-50.
Any running back, any level of football, I ask him, would you rather get the handoff at shotgun or would you want to have a full head of steam? Because I know the answer. They all want to be in high formation, or they want to be at 5 to 7 yards and being able to set up blocks and be able to hit that line of scrimmage with a full head of steam, rather than the ball at 3 yards and looking around. It just doesn't make sense. And I don't know if they're afraid of the injury or what. Man, they are under center, and you see it happen to the Lions with a quarterback that's not as good as Jordan Love, and they under center. Look, so. I think you're going to get mesmerized by it, and hey, quarterback's got to get him under the center, and then you're going to hand the ball off if you want to be a power running team, and then it also helps. It tremendously helps the play action pass.
Yeah, they were 31-18 shotgun versus run plays. 31-18 in that game. Oh, overall, gross. But I just get so mesmerized by why they are so fascinated with not putting Jordan, because I think Jordan Love, when he sells the play fake, is as good as anybody at freezing defenders, specifically the safeties and linebackers, is to wait a second to see what it is he's going to do with the football, which gives you either one, a really good run game, because they do hesitate, or two, it gives guys ability to get open in the flat. And I don't know why they don't utilize that more.
And most importantly, too, is it gets that running game going. Once you get the running game going and those safeties freeze or take a step forward, and more importantly, the linebackers, especially when you got a bunch of linebackers that haven't played a lot. You saw it happen. You saw it happen on screen, live in front of your face. Those linebackers were stepping up, and they were so aggressive in the run part of it. They're stepping up and also they got to wiggle out and screen back to their zones. And that's when big plays happen. That's when big plays up to Watson happen. That's when you get the tight end to have some opportunities because the linebackers are frozen, or more importantly, if you get them to take a step or two forward, you're winning. And you saw it happen, and then they just didn't do it enough.
Right. No doubt. Good stuff, my friend. This week, they got to go to we know they go to Seattle, and it's been a house of horrors. If you're looking at this game, which I don't know if you have yet, but to me, I think you need to get Jaden Reed more involved. You're hoping that you get a little bit healthier with Jair, which I don't know if he will be, and then obviously Edgerrin Cooper. But what else are you looking for in this contest?
Well, Detroit got to play the same way it played against Detroit. Heck, I tell you what, if you would have told me that those two running backs would have had 94 yards rushing, I'm like, Packers are going to win. There's no way they're going to lose this ball game. But that's what they did. That was the best their front four played against the run all year, and they were not too bad against the pass. The pressure wasn't great, but it was a tick above. Having Edgerrin Cooper back is going to be a good deal. He's better in the past, and he also is really good. He's much better than Quay Walker is at pushing A&B gaps. Hopefully Edgerrin Cooper is back. That's going to take a little bit of pressure off. But I'm in that building right now today. I got a general fire, and I'm putting the third lineman right above it and saying, men, you guys got to get after it. You have got, because our secondary is in shambles right now, personnel-wise, and you guys got to get Geno Smith moving. You got to get him moving around because he's going to throw picks, but he's not going to throw picks if he can stand back there and open a bag of potato chips and crack a beer.
No, I completely agree. Great stuff as always, Eric. I appreciate it, pal.
Yeah, you two have a good week. Thanks for having me on, and it should be a really fun week. I look forward to hearing look forward to seeing if they are going to do something with Jaden Reed or if they're going to keep him on the bench. So,
right.
That's the biggest thing to look for.
Yeah, I agree with you, buddy. Appreciate it, man. There you go. Great stuff, Eric Baranek, and he's right. We were talking about what they were missing and how they got too cute, and that was the other thing. I didn't even mention that. That was Jaden Reed was non-existent. They got him doing the big circle loop and motion and doing some stuff with him, but for the most part, man, it's just like they have forgotten that Jaden Reed was, oh, by the way, a pretty good quality receiver too in this offense for quite some time, and all of a sudden he's become non-existent. Hey, our friends over there at Marquette RV reminding you this is the season. If you got a RV or maybe a camper on your Christmas list, you can stop in any one of the showrooms. They have all kinds of accessories. But don't forget also, the season's right around the corner. I mean, it's going to get here faster than probably you anticipate. You don't see them a little bit long after you get past the holidays. But we all know that eventually you want to get things going. And when the weather breaks, you want to be ready to go. So if you're looking for a new, whether it's a motorhome or a travel trailer or a fifth wheel, whatever it happens to be, take our friends at Marquette RV up on the fact that they've got 7 locations in the state of Wisconsin alone. And they have something for everybody. Go to Marquette, MARKQUART, MarquetteRV.com. That is MarquetteRV.com, a proud supporter of everything we do with our veterans and our foundation, Big Unit Foundation as well. Thanks to them for being a part of it. And thanks to them for being part of the program as well.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
So here's a number for you. Teams that have lined up with the quarterback under center have a 69.9% success rate per play. Teams that have gone with shotgun have a 61% of success. So the percentage are actually higher under center for the success rate of that particular play. Now, here's the next thing. On average, coming into this season, not this season, but on average coming into this 83% of all offensive snaps in the NFL are now run out of shotgun. 83%, with a lower percentage of shotgun plays having success than the success rate of plays coming under center. That's kind of startling to me. It really is. That so many teams are adopting the shotgun formation, which in some cases actually plays to a quarterback's strength. But if you've got a quarterback that is mobile and a quarterback that is a good play faker or athleticism, you would want that quarterback then under center more often. So again, it seems to me that you get more success under center because you have an offense. You have, first of all, running back running downhill. But if you've got a guy that actually sells a play fake and knows what the hell he's doing under center, he can give you more opportunity and do more to manipulate a defense in your favor. Interesting. All right, we got another hour yet to go, or 2 hours yet to go. I don't want to cut it short. There you go. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. 2 hours down, 2 hours yet to go. We'll be back right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, with the Green Bay Packers taking on the Detroit Lions for Thursday Night Football, we saw Sunday's action conclude in the NFL. And the Minnesota Vikings built a 2-game lead over Green Bay for the top wildcard spot in the NFC, beating the Atlanta Falcons to move to 11-2 on the year. With the playoffs looming, the Packers still have a 98% chance of making it, but Jordan Love says they're not worried about that right now. They're taking it one game at a time.
That's one thing that we just got to continue to take it a week at a time. About. Obviously, we've got a couple games left here, and we're trying to finish on the right note and win out these last couple games. And handle business, take one game at a time, and obviously, we'll see what happens over time.
Up next for the Packers, they're in Seattle taking the Seahawks for Sunday Night Football. Turning to Wisconsin, they're reportedly close to naming their new offensive coordinator, Jeff Grimes, who held the title of OC and assistant head coach in Kansas this past season, will replace Bill Longo. Grimes got his first offensive coordinator job back at BYU, helping the Cougars average 43.5 points per game in 2020. Then he spent 3 years in Baylor before having won with Kansas.
All business owners want the same thing, to make their business succeed. At Rural Mutual, they help that happen. As the third largest writer of commercial business in Wisconsin, they take the time to learn your business so they can properly protect you. Call your local agent today or visit ruralmutual.com.
Last night, Giannis Antetokounmpo had 34 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 assists as the Bucks snapped a 2-game losing streak with a 118-113 victory over the Brooklyn Nets. Finally, Wisconsin basketball looking to bounce back after moving to Marquette on Saturday as they put up Champaign to take on the Fighting Illini of Illinois tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Good to have you. Bill Michaels Show. This Monday edition. Kind of a green and gold Monday, even though the Packers played on Thursday. Paul says we were talking about the shotgun formation coming into the top of the break. He said they run it because Love does not read the pressure. He needs more time than most. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I think Love sees the pressure. I think they get enamored with it. I think quarterbacks don't like to face immediate pressure. I think they don't like the mechanicalness of things. But I don't know. I'm just not. I'm not. I'm just not a fan of it. Not a fan of it. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. I think it takes you out of the ability to do. Going back to what Eric Branchik said, running backs love to get going downhill. Okay, that's first and foremost. They enjoy that. You ask anybody, they enjoy that. I think number two, a good play fake can freeze the defense and give one of your receivers or a tight end a step. And I also think three, if you do play fake well, it can also freeze the defensive line, which can then also keep them off of you and help your offensive line in pass blocking situations if you are going to drop back. But then again, if you trust your receivers and you already know where they're supposed to be, you shouldn't have to read the field as quickly or as diligently. You should be able to throw your eyes in a direction, freeze the safety, and be able to go to the guy that the play is designed for. Granted, that's perfect world. I get it, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of that. 877-867-1670. You want to find us, please feel free. Go ahead and do so. Again, 877-867-1670. And this was something you brought up, Grant, and I think it's legit, where you basically said, are the Packers better now than they were at this time last year? Are the Packers better now than they were at this time last year? And that's a great question. Because I don't think so. Because we haven't seen him play a complete game probably since Arizona? Probably since the Arizona game. And I also look at the Packers right now and I think if they are the same as they were last year, then they're worse because teams around them have gotten better. Philadelphia is better. Minnesota is better. Detroit is certainly better than they were last year. Teams that right now are above them in the NFC have gotten better. And if I had to look, and I had to sit here and say, okay, where are the Packers in all of this? When you look at, just look at the standings right now in the NFC, I would say the Packers could beat Tampa Bay. The Packers could beat Atlanta. I don't know about Seattle. I think they can. I certainly think that the Packers are a better football team than what Seattle offers. That's why coming up on Sunday night is going to be so vital to be able to go out there and get a signature win against a team that is plus 500. By the way, Seattle's won 4 in a row now. And Seattle at home, oddly enough, they're better on the road. They're 5-1 on the road. They're 3-4 at home. So you've got an opportunity to go out and make a little bit of a statement if you're the Green Bay Packers.
The Seahawks are not that different from the Packers in that they have great skill position players like Metcalf, Lockett, and Smith and Jigba are great, but they also have 2 ox running backs. And I don't think Charbonnet or Walker Jr., I don't think they're as good as Josh Jacobs, but they can kind of play in a dome or they can play out in the elements. They can do a little bit of both. They're not that far away from the Packers. I think Jordan Love's better than Geno, but they can kind of do both. That's not surprising now that you mentioned that. I didn't know that.
The Packers, by the way, in the conference are 4-4. So is Seattle. The Packers, where Seattle has differences, their division is weak. They've been able to win in their division. They're 3-2 in the division, where the Packers are only 1-3 this season. The Packers have scored, I think, like 50 more points on the season, or just short of that than what Seattle has. But Seattle is, you're right, they're pretty similar. I just think the Packers are a better football team. It's just going to Seattle, they just have not fared well over the years. And then, granted, the majority of the guys on this team in this franchise have not gone to Seattle in quite some time. I can't remember if Matt LaFleur's been to Seattle yet as a coach of the Green Bay. But so the stench of going to Seattle, other than people that have been in the organization walking around the building, certainly players have not been to Seattle. When was the last time the Packers were in Seattle? I can't remember.
They were there in McCarthy's last year in 18.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought it was going back to a McCarthy era team. I don't think it's been anything of recency in the last 5 or 6 years. So it's been a while. So you can say, well, they don't fare well there. But again, it's a different regime, so it's not the same group of people. So that the stench of that shouldn't be carried over to the guys that are currently inside that locker room. But I think they're a better team. They should win. But I think they're better than Seattle. I still look at the teams that are above them, and I think Detroit, Minnesota, Philadelphia to a certain extent, maybe even Washington. I think they should be better than Washington, to be honest with you. If you had to kind of put a gun in my head, I think they're better than Washington. I think Washington, even though they got to win this past weekend, Washington's kind of slowed a little bit on their roll. So I'm waiting to see what they do again this coming week. But before I go, okay, I'm back on that Washington can get a few wins bandwagon. But Washington's going to find themselves in the postseason right now. I mean, you look at the teams that have the availability to go to the postseason, it's kind of locked up. The Rams are still in the hunt at 7-6. The Falcons are still in the hunt at 6-7. The Rams are still in the hunt because they can still win the NFC West. If the Packers get to win this weekend and the Rams get to win this weekend, then the Rams are right there with Seattle for the top spot in the NFC West. Same thing with Atlanta. If Atlanta gets to win this weekend and Tampa Bay should take a loss, Atlanta could still win. Beyond that, there's not much. Everything else is pretty much decided. Philadelphia is going to win the East. Detroit is going to win and pretty much lock up the North, unless they go on kind of a downward spiral. The Vikings are still sitting at 11-2. The Vikings are going to be in. The Packers, with just at least one more win, are going to find their way into the postseason. You got to figure it's going to be Tampa Bay or Atlanta because the team that doesn't win the division is out. Same thing with Seattle and the Rams. You still have Arizona and San Francisco within earshot because they're only 2 games behind Seattle right now. And some of the tiebreakers in conference and in the division would favor, say, like Arizona is 2-2. The Rams are 2-1. Seahawks are 3-2. Whereas San Francisco loses out and only 1-3 in the division, but they're 4-5 in the conference, which is one of the better records in the conference. So, you still got some teams within earshot, but it's to win the division to find themselves in the postseason, not necessarily to be a wild card that's going to displace Green Bay and what Green Bay is. So Green Bay, in my opinion, they're going to the postseason. It's whether or not you're going to hit the ground running into the postseason. And then the question that I go back to, which you brought up, is, are they better now than they were last year? And I think that's a legitimate question. Are they better now?
I think they've lost 2 games akin to the 2 games they won last year. So I'm thinking of Thanksgiving against the Lions, that's the game they won, and then that Sunday night game against the Chiefs. Right? They've lost those close games this year. You could go back and say the Packers got a little lucky against Kansas City, MVS, or that lack of a pass interference flag. Like, I think they got some good fortune last year. I also think they just have better players this year. Their young guys are a year better. Tucker Kraft a year better. And Xavier McKinney's really good. And they didn't have a guy like that on the back end of their defense. They had Rudy Ford and others. So I think they're better this year, but I think it's interesting to compare because sometimes that's not always reflected in the results. And fans, I think we need to think about that sometimes.
Steven says, yes, they are better now. Bobby says, definitely not as concerned with our team this year compared to what Joe Barry had going last year. Alexander's health is a major issue on the D, though. JJ says the defense is what worries me. Dean says, do you think the Packers are in a good place as far as the offensive talent and contracts coming in the next few years that we can go after some top defensive players in the draft or even go out to free agency and get some solid talent at the defensive back and maybe a safety as well this year? I think safety-wise, they're good. I think Bullard's going to be good. I think that they're going to be okay. What they need is another legitimate pass rusher. And the disappointment has been the fact that they have not been able to morph Rashawn Gary back to what he was prior to the injury. That's disappointing. And the fact that the depth up front has not been good. The linebacking core has nothing to be right home about. And, I know that you don't want to give up on Lucas Van Ash yet, but, dude, you got to show something, man. You got to show something more than just a flash here and there. You got to be more consistent. When you're a first-round draft choice, you have to be – they're counting on you to be dominant. They're counting on you to be dominant. And there's a lot of first-round draft choices throughout the league that aren't, but that's making excuses. The bottom line is the first-round draft choices for the Green Bay Packers have not been dominant for quite some time. Jordan Love is the last first-round draft choice to really kind of do something, and to become a guy. I don't know how high of a ceiling he has, but I'm waiting to see if he's going to play even better football as the season winds down now that the injuries are pretty well in the rearview mirror. Isaac says, a better or worse doesn't really matter. Can this defense go into Detroit, Philadelphia, Soto, or even Tampa Bay and hold that opponent to less than 30 points and get off the field? The answer is no. The answer is no. That's a great point. They've given up, for the most part, 30 plus to those better teams consistently. The only team they didn't was Detroit in that monsoon game at Lambeau Field earlier this year. But every one of those teams, they have given up 30 plus points. You are 100% correct. That's it. 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, do it. 877-867-1670. Give us a shout. We'd love to hear from you. Let's take a quick break. We'll come right back. I want to start getting some thoughts off of the text line as well. You can text us 608-321-1670. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Ho, 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 my back. Ho, 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 Gina Dello from Pella. You've been a good girl this year.
Is that why you're in here building new windows?
Yes. Next year, I'll just ask them for a Pella gift card. My elves are used to designing windows from other places. They're all pretty much the same. Pella, ho, ho, ho. So many customizations and designs. I also aren't qualified. Santa has to put in some overtime.
Let me make a call for ERB.
Frighteningly fast call team at your service. Let us take it from here, Mr. Plus. And Gina, next time.
Yeah, I know. Santa already lectured me. Ask for a Pella gift card.
What if you need new windows or doors, but you're on the naughty list?
Right now at Pella Windows in Dorset, Wisconsin, get as low as $19 per window and $81 per patio door per month.
Ho, ho, ho. Visit the Pella site and to all a good night.
PellaWI.com. Supply until 31/2024.
Bill Michaels will listen in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you. Yeah. Glad you're on board today. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Skag. Skag Power Equipment all throughout the great state of Wisconsin. They are manufactured by 6 different plants here in the state of Wisconsin, and they just say thanks first and foremost for kind of looking them up and checking them out. But if you have any kind of a power equipment need, our friends at Skag, they make the best, and they're right here. Keep supporting those local businesses here in the state of Wisconsin at Skag, SCAG, skag.com/dealer-locator, skag.com/dealer-locator, and a big, proud supporter of our veterans, military members, our first responders, and Big Unit Foundation. We can't say thanks enough to them for being a part of the program. There you go. This is Marcus, who said, I think the Packers are about the same as last year, which, as we all know, in the NFL means you are not any better. You are worse. Other teams pass you by. What has Goody done to this defense? At first, I thought it was going to be pretty good, but I look at all the guys top to bottom, and I see Xavier McKinney as a standout. Kenny Clark is constantly a guy that is mentioned as a Pro Bowler, but he doesn't play at that Pro Bowl level on a consistent basis. I think Rashawn Gary is regressed. I think Lucas Van Ness is a nobody. The worst thing they did was getting rid of Preston Smith. Well, Preston Smith didn't want to be here, though. You don't want to do that. Quay Walker is finally starting to show some of his ability, but is that happily putting him in the right place at the right time, or is he actually getting his head out of his rear end and starting to play a tougher brand of football? I think that Edgerrin Cooper could be something, but I'm not quite sure yet. I look at Eric Stokes as a failure. I also look at our other safeties right now as up-and-comers, but no real talent to speak of as far as results in the field go. Therefore, this defense is better statistically, but worse personnel-wise. Thanks so much. Well, that's a lot to chew on. I'm not. Stokes has been disappointing. Rashawn Gary, for the most part, has been disappointing. Lucas Van Ness has not shown much. You look at Colby Wooden and TJ Slayton and those guys, and they're good bodies. They're depth rotational guys. And I really thought TJ Slayton would become more of a dominant player. And I really thought Devontae Wyatt was going to take that next step, but specifically by the way he played at the end of last season.
In the beginning of this season, before he got hurt, too,
Yeah.
He was really explosive, and since he came back, he has really felt like the same player.
And I'll be honest, I thought Kenny Clark would have had a better season, but also when you are a big man hampered by a toe injury, that's tough because your lower body is your entire leverage in playing that position.
And I believe last week or the week before, this is the first time all year he's been off the injury report.
Mm-hmm.
He looked awesome.
A lot better, yeah.
On Thursday.
And Jair is good when he plays. The problem is he doesn't play. And if you're going to cut him, this is the year to cut him. You can save money. Same thing with Quay Walker. You look at Quay and you go, hey, you've got 4 games left to make a name for yourself. And that scares me because, does he become your linebacking version of Cledius Hunt, who did the same thing? He busted his ass. He looked really, really good. And then all of a sudden he was just gone, man. And I don't know. And you hate to say it because they just spend so much capital on defense. And it's like, how many more draft picks are you going to be excited about that you live with for 3 years and you realize they're nobody? They're just a dude, man. And we've seen other players come and go in the Packers. They were right there, and we're all thinking, go for this guy, and the Packers don't. And now you're seeing them shine in other areas, and it's frustrating because we've read this book before.
Scott's getting at something on the live stream that I was going to ask you about. Like, when was the last time the Packers gave a second contract to a defensive player that aged great? And then, like, as an extension to that question, who's the player on a rookie deal on this defense right now that you think got to extend that guy? He's definitely getting another deal.
Nobody.
Nobody.
Yeah. And if they are, it's a minimal deal. Nobody. There is no standout talent on this defense. And you can talk about their potential all you want. I think Edgerrin Cooper could be that guy. I think that Javon Bullard could be that guy. But you got to see more than just the limited use that they've had this season. For sure. I don't know what to make of Tyron Hopper just yet. I don't know where he's at. I love what Isaiah McDuffie's bringing to the table. I love that he's bringing thump. I love that Evan Williams playing that safety position has been a guy that made us all kind of, stand up and take notice. So I appreciate that, but we haven't seen enough of them yet to say whether or not they're good or bad. But, I get it. You've got Cooper, you've got Alexander, you've got Corey Ballantyne, Javon Bullard, Evan Williams. You got all those guys that are banged up in the secondary right now. So I understand all of that. But I don't know anybody right now. If I had to sit here with Sean Gary this season, obviously last year was coming off the knee, and I really thought he'd have the breakout year, and he hasn't been. He's played better as of late. Maybe it looks like they're absorbing it and getting it more, but again, we're talking about the better teams. Philadelphia, Minnesota, and Detroit are all putting up over 30. Those are all the teams you're chasing. So I don't know that I can sit here and say the Packers are better, that they have anybody of solidification on that defensive side of the football. The offensive side of football has a lot of optimism, has a lot of hope. You can look at the offensive side of the football and you can say, look, you've got talent. You're going to have Romeo Doubs back. So, you're going to have that. But why in the world has suddenly Jaden Reed become nobody? Why have they kind of forgot about him? Dontavian Wicks, don't get me wrong. Dontavian Wicks at the beginning, he had the drops, but he's played really good football over the last couple of weeks. He was 4 or 5 in catches last week. And then in the contest to this Thursday night, he was 4 or 5 again. Granted, it was 49 yards. It wasn't a huge amount. But, he was 4 or 5 again and didn't have a drop. So he seems, at least hands-wise, seems to be getting better. Tucker Kraft is a guy that's just going to continually move the sticks for you. And you're hoping to get Luke Musgrave back next year. That'll add depth. Ben Sims got shoved around the offensive line a little bit. That was kind of disappointing. But Jaden Reed had 1 target. One target. That's it. That was the only involvement he had. He didn't even get a handoff. Not that the handoffs have been working anyway. But they used him as a disguise, but everybody's now seen it. That big giant loop that he runs around the quarterback and runs back to the next side. They're not targeting him. They're not handing him the ball anymore because that wheel route or that jet sweep has gone by the wayside. Teams have figured it out. So do I think they're good and their offense is good? Yeah, I do. I think their offensive line is pretty good too. And like I said, what was somewhat shocking was the fact that they actually got manhandled in the beginning of that contest. But I think their offense is okay. I love that Josh Jacobs has been a bell cow. But again, you only gave him the ball 18 times? You kept him under 20 carries again? I'm like, what are you doing? He's the guy that's grinding it out. Now, granted, he wasn't ripping off a ton of big gains. He only had 3.7 yards per carry, but I'll take that because you know that you're grinding out. And again, going back to that whole flea flicker thing and putting your side, that was just a wasted. That was a wasted. Segment. Tim says everything you're talking about starts with the person in charge. Man on offense, I beat Jacobs, Kraft, and Reed like rented mules. For some reason, they aren't as much in the game plan. I agree. I don't know why they're not. And Brenton Cox Jr. and Tyron Hopper. JJ says you probably see some more playing time, and I'd like to see them worked in a little bit more. Can't disagree with that. I got to get to some of the text messages just because there's so many of them. This one out of the 715 would go after Fred Warner. Yeah. If there's an availability there, and it's not going to, I mean, you don't want to break the bank on some of these guys, but yes, I would. Absolutely. Hey, Bill and Grant, how come the defense never blitzed or did something to pressure Goff? He's not that good with pressure in his face. Secondly, on the short passing touchdowns, the defensive line needs to get their hands up, and they would have maybe been able to block the pass. I don't know why they didn't get after Goff more. I couldn't tell you. But
I feel like they did some stunts and some twists.
Oh yeah,
the thing is,
they did some things.
This is the tough part, right? We agree, especially with the injuries, that they're limited in all of the things that they can do. Like, I'm sure Jeff Hafley would love to play some press man and mix it. They just don't have the horses for it right now. I think it was clear. They said, we're going to stop the run and we'll do our best to figure out everything else. You can't blitz and stop the run and stop the screens and drop into coverage, protect the middle of the field. Like, you can only do so many things, especially against a great offense.
Mm-hmm.
I think they picked their spots to blitz. They got home once or twice, but it's a good offense. It's really, really tough to do everything well against that offense.
I agree. And let's not forget that this is one of the better teams in the National Football League. You went toe-to-toe with them, and I'm not taking any kind of a moral victory out of that at all. But your inequities are exposed when you play a team that is that good. And again, I go back to they're going to beat the average to below average teams. The Packers are better than that. It's the teams that you're chasing right now to beat to get to that next level, which would be getting to a Super Bowl. Those teams you have not proven that you can beat. And like I said, you're good enough to lose. You're good enough to lose and be competitive. But I think the belief in the Packers and their ability to win those games has faded, dramatically faded. It had this thing been, how do I put it? Kind of forward, this is all going to be really, really good. The Packers are now starting to become that football team. The rest of it, after the loss, I think people are saying, yeah, the Packers are who we think they are. They're a team that's good enough to beat the bad teams, good enough to beat the average teams. The quarterback is getting better after the injury. Maybe they're going to get better when a few of these young guys come back or a few of these bodies come back. But right now, they're still not good enough to beat the likes of Detroit, Minnesota, and Philadelphia, who really are the front runners in the National Football League, or I should say in the NFC more so than anything. Let's do this. We'll step out. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. Got a lot more to get to. Don't go anywhere. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Andrews Chevrolet. Go to andrewschevrolet.com. If you're looking for a brand new Chevy Trax, the redesign, they got it. How about a Silverado? Maybe you're looking to trade in your truck or get a new one and upgrade. You can do that as well. Maybe if you're looking for something in the EV side, they've got a whole bunch of new models. The 2024s that are left are still sitting there. The 2025s are coming in each and every day. Check out our friends at Andrews Chevrolet. Go to andrewschevrolet.com. That is andrewschevrolet.com. Don't forget, at Andrews Chevrolet, also huge supporters of the military, are our friends and our first responder friends, and also our veterans. And they were the ones that stepped forward and really did help us this season with all of our charitable needs with Big Unit Foundation. So thanks to our friends over there at Andrews Chevrolet. And it's worth the drive. Call our friend Stu. Stu is the GM over there. He's a sales manager. He can help you out. Go to Stu. Call him up, 414-973-9867 if you're looking for a new vehicle. 414-973-9867. and ask for Stu.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Get ready for the moment we've all been waiting for. It's the 300K season finale giveaway at Potawatomi. Friday, December 20th. Watch your entries from Bird Bash, Dash Clash, and Winter's Dash. All pile into one massive drawing for a chance at up to 50 grand cash. Be there to win your share. December 20th, only at Potawatomi Casino, Milwaukee. Learn more at casepeak.com/finale. Must be 21 years old to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Are the Packers better now than they were at this point in time last year? Are they better now than they were at this time last year? I think it's a legitimate question. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. It's a good question. Hey, if you're going to be heading down tonight, maybe watch the Monday night game, you can check out Nice Ash Cigar Bar, 323 West Main Street, downtown Waukesha. That's theniceash.com, theniceash.com. Check them out in downtown Waukesha. I know a lot of people were down there over the weekend. Saw a few friends down there, as a matter of fact, over the weekend. But theniceash.com. That's theniceash.com. And they had the live entertainment going on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and a big walk-in humidor down there. But if you just want to go down there and catch out a cool vibe, that's a great place to go. That's theniceash.com. Nice Ash Cigar Bar, 323 West Main Street, downtown Waukesha. Here's the other thing. They ended up the weekend, yesterday, as a matter of fact, the Waukesha Christmas parade took place yesterday. That place was really crowded. They were doing the hot chocolate thing. It was nice weather last night, but they were doing a hot chocolate thing yesterday down there, and people were sitting in the front windows, and they were watching the parade go by. So really cool. Really cool. Will says, I'm sick of lipstick on a pig. You got to move on from Matt LaFleur. I don't know if I want to go there. Matt LaFleur took a team over that was terrible and took them to an NFC championship game. I think Matt LaFleur last year, the way he wrapped his arms around the organization, did an incredible job coaching down the stretch. I think there's a lot of good there. I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Ain't going to happen. At some point, you got to stop beating your head against the wall. I agree, but if you had to say, is this team better or worse right now? And if so, worse, tell me what area is worse. I think we can all probably point to the defense and say, yeah, it's not the same. I don't even know if they're as good as last year. I don't know if they're worse than last year. I think they're better in different areas and they're worse in different areas. I think Quay Walker's a little better than he was last year. Certainly the upgrade of Xavier McKinney. The secondary, which we thought was deep, isn't. The linebacking core that we assumed was deep, not by the guys that we thought would be better, but you look at, a guy like McDuffie and Edrin Cooper. Kenny Mack says, what makes this head coach so great? Nobody said he's great. I think he's a really good offensive play caller. I think he has been a good leader. I just do. When things were ready to fall apart last year, he's the one that kind of wrapped his arms around. You got to give him credit too. You can't throw. That's what I'm saying. You can't just say, well, they're not going to win the division for the third straight year. They're bad. I think, as much as I at one point criticized Goody and then turned around and praised him, I think you can look now and say some of the guys that you were kind of counting on have not lived up to expectation. I think in the grand scheme of things, when you look at general managers, I think Goody's done a pretty good job. When you look at the first round draft choice, short of Jordan Love, you're not getting anything out of him. You can just go straight to the first rounds. Now, where you make it up is some of the later rounds. Where Ron Wolf was so good was in the later rounds in free agency. That's where Goody is right now. And then you'd have to say when you look at some of these personnel departments, they've been pretty good. The Lions have been pretty good. They've done their due diligence, man. They took best available. They did not fit square pegs in round holes. And when it comes to this year's draft, I'm waiting for, first of all, you're waiting for Jordan Morgan. Edgerrin Cooper seems to be a guy that can be real. Javon Bullard, I believe, is a solid player. We haven't seen enough of Tyron Hopper. Evan Williams certainly at times impressed us. You're waiting to see what Marshawn Lloyd brings. So if you hit on those 5 guys, or 6 if you want to include Williams, and this is the 4th round draft choice, that's a hell of a draft. Go back to last year. Jaden Reed, solid. Tucker Kraft, solid. We're waiting for Luke Musgrave to come back. Lucas Van Ness, not. Dontavian Wicks, just now starting to kind of come into his own, but everybody says Dontavian Wicks is like even going to watch him in practices and such and looking at him, and you watch him on film. He's a tough guy to cover. It's just he's had a case of the drops prior to the last couple of games. So if that guy emerges, then you've got another decent draft because you've got Jaden Reed, you've got Tucker Kraft, you've got Dontavian Wicks, 3 guys that are contributing out of that particular draft. Go back with Quay Walker, average at best, not worthy of first round. Devontae Wyatt has played better. I want him to make the jump going into next season. Sean Ryan, solid. Romeo Doubs, solid. Angabari, solid. Rasheed Walker, 7th round draft choice, solid. That year's a good draft. You're just waiting for Quay Walker to be the guy. Go back to 2021. Eric Stokes, nothing. Josh Myers, solid. Average to above average. And after that, you got what? TJ Slayton? Isaiah McDuffie has certainly played well and shown that he's got some thump in him. But you go back to 2020, you got Jordan Love. That's it. Jordan Love. Out of 2020, you got Jordan Love. Out of 2019, you got Rashawn Gary and Elton Jenkins. That's it. That's why I kind of said that the personnel department was getting better as guys are starting to hit their stride a little bit. But what you get judged on is your first round draft choices, and those have not lived up to expectation. I concur. Where he has gotten really good has been the ability to go out and find a player in free agency to help you. You can't deny the 2 biggest pickups probably this offseason for the Packers are Josh Jacobs and Xavier McKinney. McKinney might be one of the best pickups of any NFL team this season. There was a lot of people that didn't believe in Josh Jacobs early on, but boy, has he proven to be worth the deal to let Aaron Jones go and bring in Josh Jacobs, especially for the fact that Aaron Jones has been so heavily criticized for not only missing a couple of games like he does here or did here, but he's had a case of the drop. He's put the ball in the carpet 4 or 5 times already this season. So I guess you take the good with the bad. I don't know any general manager that's perfect, and I'm not making excuses. I just know that in the comparison coming into the season, when you went through some of the NFL Network analysts, and they were talking about all the good and the bad moves that had been prior to this year, that Brian Gutekunst ranked 5th overall for people that are a whole lot smarter when it comes to this than I am. 877-867-1670. Hit us up, 877-867-1670. Give us a shout. We'd love to hear from you. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends over there at Neiman Farm Services. God bless the farmers. They're going to keep us going all year long, and they always give a little bit of extra help, and anything they can do to maximize their profit and streamline really their process, they can do, or they at least should do or need to do. to make all those family farms out there stronger and better and more viable as the years go on. Neiman Farm Services try to help you with that. Everything from crop rotation, planting, seeding, drainage, all those different things. Anything that's going to help you, they can help you with. That's Neiman Farm Services, 715-650-7988. Anywhere in the state of Wisconsin, 715-650-7988. 715-650-7988. And get your jump start on your 2025 season as well. 715-650-7988. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Ho, 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 I'm back.
Santa?
Ho, ho. Gina from Pella. Been a good girl this year.
Is that why you're in here building new windows?
Yes, next year. How about just asking for a Pella gift card? My elves are used to designing windows from other places where they're all pretty much the same. But Pella, customizations and designs. I have qualified. So Santa has to put in some overtime.
Let me make a call. BRB.
Frighteningly fast team at your service. Let us take it from here, Mr. Claus. And Gina, next time.
I know. Santa already lectured me. Ask for a Pella gift card.
What if you need new windows or doors, but you're on the naughty list?
Right now at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, get as low as $19 per window and $81 per patio door per month.
Ho, ho, ho. Visit the Pella site and to all a good night.
PellaWI.com. Supply and stuff in 2024.
Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
You got to hit it, bang it, rock it, put it in the pocket.
Good to have you back. Had a great time. John and Amber Atlee, they own the Water Doctors, and we were here on Saturday as well. We were together, so to speak. And they own the Water Doctors and the Connecticut Water Supply System. And just great people, great to spend some time with them, but more so than anything, a great product. I actually had a few people that walked through the door and asked me about it. And I said, hey, if you want to go downstairs and take a look, there it is, the Connecticut Water Supply System. Yeah. I love it in my house. And if you want the best that's out there, the best that is out there, the Connecticut Water Supply System, get it in your home, whether you're doing you just want to take out the old one and put in a new one. If you want better water, more safer water for you, your kids, your pets, heck yeah, call the Water Doctors. H2 the letter O doctors.com, H2 the letter O doctors, H2O doctors.com. Or call John and Amber anywhere in the state of Wisconsin, 262-549-7733, 262-549-7733. That is the Water Doctors, and they also do a lot for our veterans, a lot for our first responders as well. John, actually part of the board on Big Unit Foundation, so just great to work with them, and such really, really good detail-oriented people, customer service-oriented people. That is the Water Doctors, absolutely. This one is from Jacob, who says two things. One, I think the Packers are better this year. I think they're better coached, and I think they're more well-rounded. He says, I think they're just needing one big play to get over the hump, and they're going to be just fine. Let's not worry too much about it. Well, if they're one big play from getting over the hump, then why haven't they done it? I'm not disagreeing with you totally, because I agree with you that if they get the win, say they go into U.S. Bank Stadium and they get a win, okay? Then they're finally over the hump. They've beaten one of those teams. I agree with you. But they haven't done it now in 14 games. They've got 9 wins in those 14 or 10 wins, 9 or 10 wins in those 14 games. So why haven't they done it? That's my question. They're sitting at 9-4 through week 14, 9-4. Why haven't they done it already? Then goes on to say, the Juan Soto deal makes me sick. As a Brewers fan, we have absolutely no shot at getting any high-end talent. When is Major League Baseball going to correct itself? Never. Not, again, I'm not calling for boycotts or anything, but if there ever was going to be one, you would have to get everybody on board, because the only thing that matters, there's two things. One is you're fighting the players union. They are never, ever going to agree to a salary cap. And when you want a salary cap as an owner, you're basically saying we need a cap because we need protection from ourselves. And we need protection from the rich who continue to outspend everybody else. In that sense, the rich will say, well, if we're going to give you a salary cap and do this revenue share even more so, then we want to see the books of the teams that aren't spending any money. We want Miami, we want Milwaukee, we want Pittsburgh, we want Kansas City, we want their books open. We want to know what we're paying into those organizations. Are those Oakland, which is going to be off doing something else with another name in Las Vegas eventually? But all those teams, we want a salary floor. And some of those markets may not agree to that. Some of those ownership groups may not agree to that. And that's been part of the problem, is that the owners don't in their books to say, here's what we're making. And the players are like, you're not going to show us what you're making, then we're not going to stop doing what we do, because they want to continue to raise the bar. I don't blame them. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not that the competitive balance has changed. It's the competitive balance at acquiring talent is so dysfunctional and dysmorphing because of the complete lopsided capability of certain teams to spend money and actually get an ROI, which the Mets will never get on Soto. But you don't have that level of money in some of the smaller markets to be able to go out and say, we can spend this kind of money on this guy and give this guy that kind of contract, and we'll compete with you. Because it's one thing in a large market to do it and not be able to kind of recoup a lot of that money down the road. But you will never recoup that money the way the current system is. You'll never get that back or be able to get that in any way, shape, or form in some of the smaller markets. So I agree. It's a wow moment in Major League Baseball and professional sports. On the other hand, it's also a major disappointment and just another, recognition for a small market franchise to say, I can never even compete for that kind of talent. And then to see Willie Adames leave. And it wasn't for a massive amount of money. Now, I think maybe they overpaid a little bit to get Willie, but, so be it. Willie got what he wanted. But if there was a salary cap in place, everything would come down. We're not talking about guys that are in need of a certain level of money. We're talking about guys that just look at numbers as, I'm better than this guy, so this number should be big. And every year it gets crazier and crazier and crazier. And this is beyond generational wealth. I mean, the contract alone for Juan Soto will make him more money than Mark Atanasio, the owner, has. And when one player can do that, it's screwed up. So it is disheartening. All right, let's do this. We got another hour yet to go. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Got a lot more coming up. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Pillow Winners, Wisconsin. Love them like I do. Get a hold of them. Eventually February is going to get here, and you got to start for a reason. You got to get more economical. Beautification on the outside of your home, better for your wallet. Also adds value to your home. I can go on and on. Go to PellaWI.com. There's PellaWI.com, or call them 855-PELLA-WI. That's 855-PELLA-WI. More of the Bill Michaels Show. Another hour coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Green Bay Packers taking on the Detroit Lions for Thursday Night Football. We saw Sunday's action conclude in the NFL, and the Minnesota Vikings built a 2-game lead over Green Bay for the top wildcard spot in the NFC, beating the Atlanta Falcons to move to 11-2 on the year. With the playoffs looming, the Packers still have a 98% chance of making it, but Jordan Love says they're not worried about that right now. They're taking it one game at a time.
That's one thing that we just got to continue to get a week at a time, like we always talk about. Obviously, we got a couple games left here, and we're trying to finish on the right note and win out these last couple games, and kind of take one game at a time. And obviously, we'll see what happens postseason time.
Up next for the Packers, they're in Seattle taking the Seahawks for Sunday Night Football. Turning to Wisconsin, they're reportedly close to naming their new offensive coordinator, Jeff Grimes, who held the title of OC and assistant head coach of Kansas this past season, will replace Phil Longo. Grimes got his first offensive coordinator job back at BYU, helping the Cougars average 43.5 points per game in 2020. Then he spent 3 years in Baylor before having one with Kansas.
Get insurance from a company who knows Wisconsin and cares about your community. You may know Rural Mutual Insurance as the #1 farm insurer, but did you know they also offer competitive home and auto rates? Visit ruralmutual.com to learn more about products and discounts.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Last night, Giannis Antetokounmpo had 34 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 assists as the Bucks snapped a 2-game losing streak with a 118-13 victory over the Brooklyn Nets. And finally, Wisconsin basketball looking to bounce back after losing to Marquette on Saturday as they go to Champaign to take on the Fighting Illini of Illinois tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Welcome to the Michael Show. Great to have you, as always. And talking a lot of Packers football today. It's a Green and Gold Monday, okay? So I know people want to talk baseball and such, and it's Football Monday, okay? Around the rest of the National Football League, big games all weekend long that I thought were incredibly exciting. I mean, it was a good week of football. Believe it or not, you saw the Dolphins come back and get a win over the Jets, and Aaron Rodgers finally threw for 300 yards. Finally. Had a quarterback rating of 104.5, played a pretty good game, had a touchdown, was sacked 3 times under pressure quite often, but threw for 339 yards, 27 of 39. He hit Devontae Adams 9 times for 109 yards, went to Garrett Wilson 7 times for 114 yards. So they finally looking like maybe the pass game is starting to work for them, but nevertheless, they ended up taking a loss in that contest, and they're pretty much done. Their season's gone. They're now standing at 3-10 on the season. 3-10. They're miserable. It's a bad football team. That's it.
They were up by 10 yesterday at one point
Yeah.
in the third or fourth quarter. And Rodgers and the Jets had actually looked probably better than they looked in a while.
Yeah.
And then Rodgers would miss the throw, and he looks so miserable. I'm like, man, if you can't be a little happy and joyous
right
when you're playing some of your best football of the year, like, what? No wonder this isn't working. Like, you always look miserable out there.
Well, that's part of it. How would you like to play with a guy that looks that upset all the time?
Well, I'm sure all of us have worked with someone like that, who you come in on a Monday after a long weekend. Hey, good morning. And they're like, oh, I'm so tired and it sucks and everything. Like, no one likes being around that person. No one likes working with that person.
Right. Completely agree. Yeah, it's I just always think to myself, what inspires you to play with Aaron Rodgers on the field? Maybe behind closed doors, it's great, but when he always looks like he's pissed off at people, I don't know. It was like that even towards the end here. It looked like he didn't have any joy in playing. It looks like he was just always mad at everybody. And personally, I got to the point where I thought that he did it for the camera. He was now doing it for the camera because every pass play, every time something didn't go right, they always went to him. And he always did it as if to say, it's not me. I'm frustrated with the guys around me. I'm frustrated with that guy. I'm frustrated with this guy. And yesterday, he just had some throws that he just missed. So I always started to think towards the end that maybe he was doing that because he just never looked like there was anything that went right for him. So that was my take on Aaron Rodgers. Elsewhere in the National Football League, after the Week 14 wrap, which actually culminates tonight with the Simpsons game via Disney, and I don't know what other streaming service there is, but Cincinnati on the road taking on the Cowboys tonight. Which I still think Cincinnati's offense can be dynamic. Their defense sucks, and I pick Cincinnati because I just think they've got a better quarterback. Both defenses, the Cowboys' defense is not bad. They're starting to play much better. Michael Parsons is becoming a name again. He's actually proved it all over again. But Cincinnati is terrible. I wonder if they're going to make Cooper Rush look like a Hall of Famer tonight in that contest. I had mentioned it before. You got Kirk Cousins, who really I thought would come back into the dome and kind of have a homecoming, if you will, and play extremely well. And he threw 2 more picks against the Vikings. Vikings win going away. They double them up 42-21 in that contest. Kirk Cousins yesterday had a quarterback rating of 70.1, did not punch it into the end zone, threw 2 picks along the way. Now, don't get me wrong, you had Bijan Robinson and Algier both plunged it in, but that was about the extent of it. They had some drive stall, and then obviously the 2 picks, the 2 turnovers. Sam Darnold, by the way, he was just a completion shy of a perfect quarterback rating of 158.3. It was 157.9, 22 of 28, 347. Sacked 4 times, was under pressure quite often, but 5 touchdowns yesterday. 5 of them. That guy going to get paid. He's going to get paid. The Giants look terrible. The Saints get a win. Blocking a field goal, by the way, in the Meadowlands. The Giants are 2-11. They're terrible. That was a terrible game to watch. The Panthers, again, played everybody tough. The Eagles, how about the Eagles? Now, here's the thing with the Eagles. And, I don't want to sit here and say that this is some kind of a tipping point, but A.J. Brown yesterday after the game, he had 4 catches for 43 yards. He was the leading receiver yesterday. Jalen Hurts threw for 108 yards. They ran the ball with Saquon Barkley, who did not dent the end zone. He picked up another 124 yards on the day. But Brown was specifically asked, like, what does this team need to do to get better? Because they were upset after. And look, Bryce Young and company, the Carolina Panthers aren't good. They don't know how to win yet, but they've gotten better as the season's gone on. Even though they're still losing, they have gotten better. That it's not a consolation prize, but at least they're looking like a football team again. But to win 22-16 when you're the Eagles and to have your quarterback throw for 108 yards and take a lot of checkdowns yesterday instead of going to the open man and a lot of pockets downfield. And A.J. Brown basically saying our passing game. Now, whether it's the play calling or it's the quarterback, again, you start to see, like, is there this discontent that's in that locker room? And you keep waiting for it to kind of blow up a little bit. The Steelers, much like we predicted, got a little revenge on the Browns. They end up getting the win 27-14. They go to 10-3 in the season. The Buccaneers, I thought the Buccaneers would get a win. I thought they'd bounce back, and they did. 28-13. They knocked off the Raiders yesterday down in Tampa Bay. The Jaguars, without Trevor Lawrence, surprised me because I thought, just for being at a home team, I ended up picking the Titans. The Jaguars came back and won that game yesterday. They were down 6-0. Like it was a baseball game going into the fourth quarter. And they ended up plating 10 runs in the fourth quarter to win 10-6 in a god-awful game. But the Jaguars actually showed a little moxie and pulled out a win yesterday. Then you got the Seahawks going to Arizona. And I thought Arizona would put up a better contest than what they did, but they didn't. 38 yesterday was the final in that contest. And I got to admit, I was a little bit surprised. Geno Smith yesterday, 24-30, 233 yards, had a touchdown, didn't get sacked, only hurried once, and had a quarterback rating of 110. Charbonnet yesterday, 22 carries, 134 yards, had a 51-yard gallop to the end zone, had 2 touchdowns on the day. They keep up on average, the Cardinals did in the run game, 5.7 yards per play. 31 carries, 176 yards. So really, the Seattle Seahawks didn't need to do a whole lot through the air because the run game was so good. In the meantime, Kyler Murray, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. He gave it up, 259 yards, 25-38. Nothing to write home about. Wilson was the big play day. He had the 41-yard touchdown catch and run. But the Cardinals, I was a little bit surprised the Cardinals didn't put up a better effort at home in that one. And then the shootout last night, oh my God, that was fantastic. Stayed up and watched that game last night. The Rams get a win 44-42 over the Buffalo Bills. And the Buffalo Bills tried to plunge it in twice from the goal line. They eventually got it in, but they wasted some time running the football and doing it. McDermott taking some heat for that today, saying, hey, had you thrown the ball the first time, and now it hadn't been an incomplete pass, you stop the clock, and you still have more time to put your defense on the field and get a stop, which I still don't think would have happened. But anyway, in that decision to run the ball not once but twice and eat up the clock in doing so, they had to do the onside kick, and the onside kicks just are not much in the National Football League, and then it ended up being 44-42. Yesterday, Josh Allen, he might have won even in a loss, he might have won the MVP. Josh Allen yesterday, quarterback rating of 117, threw for 3 touchdowns, ran for 3 as well. 6 touchdowns he counted for yesterday. 6 of them. Threw the ball 342 yards and ran the ball for 82 yards yesterday. I mean, a phenomenal day for Josh Allen, but still, it was in a loss. And then the Bears, we all know, got beat up by the 49ers, 38-13. And that's the way things ended out there. Brock Purdy ended up going down in the ballgame, came back, and had a decent day yesterday. Nothing, crazy, but had a decent day yesterday. Brock Purdy, 20 of 25, 325 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Good quarterback rating, 145.4, but it was against a Bears team that looked like they just quit. They ran the ball for 68 total yards. DeAndre Swift, 38 yards. Caleb Williams ran for 27 yards. Caleb Williams, he was 17 of 23, 134 yards, a couple of touchdowns, looked okay, but they look like they quit. That defense looked like they quit. They're done. Put a fork in them, 4-9 on the season. Their season's over. The only thing they have left to play for is a little bit of pride towards the end. That's about the extent of it. Meanwhile, you had the Ravens, the Broncos, the Texans, the Colts, the Patriots, and the Commanders all yesterday on bye. And then last night's contest, the Chiefs get the win as the field goal going through the uprights, 19-17 against the Chargers. So that's the way the weekend kind of wrapped up. And like I said, you got tonight's game, Cincinnati on the road in Dallas. And by the way, the good news was that this past weekend was the last of anyone having a bye. So now everybody over week 15, 16, 17, 18, everybody is on the field. Everybody's on the field. So excited for that as well. There you have it. And Thursday night's contest, you got the Rams in a battle for the West, which currently the Seahawks lead, but the Rams only a game back. The Rams are on the road taking on the 49ers in Thursday Night Football. So that's going to be a meaningful game, as if the Rams win, then Seattle, who plays on Sunday night against the Packers, they've got now the Rams. If they don't win that game, they've got the Rams tied with them for the top spot in the NFC West, which is going to put even more heat on the field.
Right now, at this moment in time, if the Packers had to either go to LA to play the Rams or Seattle to play the Seahawks in the wild card round, which would you prefer?
The Rams. I'd rather they play the Rams. Yeah. The Rams at full strength, that's a tough team. I get it. But I don't want to go and see another dismal failure.
It's location-based. Is that
okay? It's turf. I think the offense plays better on the turf. It's all of that. And I'm talking turf in the dome, not turf outside. Because the weather at that time of year in Seattle can be just as bad here, as we know. We've seen it before. We've seen ice storms and stuff in Seattle. So I'd rather they go to a dome. Just me, but how about you? I mean, I think Seattle. I think it's a horse apiece. But if the Rams are at full strength, the Rams are a better team, in my opinion. I'd still rather see them go to the dome than I would rather see them go play Seattle.
I think the Rams' best is as good as just about anybody. I think the Rams at their best when they're healthy are great. I just think Stafford is a little bit of a mixed bag, and those wide receivers, if they get hurt, that team changes. I don't think Seattle's ceiling is as high, but Seattle, they got some good players, and traveling up to Seattle is no joke. I don't know. I think these next 2 weeks are going to be really telling, because if the Packers go to Seattle and handle the Seahawks, and then they handle New Orleans on Monday night, that's not going to make up for the loss to Detroit. But I will feel very confident. Okay, this team's still really, really good. They just weren't that final 2% as good as the Lions on Thursday night. And okay, I can live with that going into the playoffs, but I really need to see them show against Seattle and against New Orleans.
Nope, I would agree with you. Let's do this. We'll step out. We'll take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. More of the Bill Michaels Show. It's all coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. The Bill Michaels Show. Brought to you by our friends at Big Boar Barbecue. Out and about, Christmas shopping, gift cards, baby, gift cards. Check out our friends at Big Boar Barbecue for lunches, dinners, catering, or the gift cards for the barbecue lover in your life. That is our friends at Big Boar Barbecue. BigBoarBBQ.com. Lunches, dinners, catering, or if you just want to do something for yourself. That's not a bad way to go either. Call them 608-612-0387 if you want to kind of check some things out, maybe place a catering order, or just check out the menu and let your mouth start to water at BigBoarBBQ.com. That is BigBoarBBQ.com, right there in West Salem, Wisconsin, out in the La Crosse area. Good stuff. Stop in. Good people. Family owned, too. Family owned. Keep supporting those type of businesses. Love it. Family owned. This one is from Prime Dave, who says, I think Matt LaFleur has done a good job, not a great job. At what point do you say he's taken us as far as he can take us? Prime Dave, I think it's all judged via circumstance. At the end of the season, it depends on how the season is. Now, they're not going to go anywhere this season, but let's say you make some corrections and next year there's more talent, there's more optimism. I think it's like how, if you lose a game, how do you lose a game? Well, you got to fire this guy. Well, what happens if your quarterback and your backup quarterback go down and you're down in the first 3 plays and you're down to a backup to the backup, and all of a sudden you lose the game in a close game? Well, the coach coached his ass off, and you were playing with your third string quarterback who didn't even warm up. And you know what I mean? It's depending on how your losses look, depending on how your wins look. Sirianni got off to a 10-1 start last year, and then the team collapsed. He was on the verge of losing his job because of the way it looked. So, I don't know. I'm not going there. I mean, I know some are. I know some people, it's win or go home. I get it. But, again, you can't look at what's going on in Chicago, where you go 2 years, it doesn't work out, you don't see the progress you want, you fire a guy. Then you do it again. Then you do it again. Then you do it again. Had it been, had the fans in Pittsburgh had their way, Mike Tomlin would have been gone a long time ago. And yet that guy just keeps pulling rabbits out of his hat. He's a good coach. Sometimes you just have to let it play out and then, take the next season. Head coaches, hiring a new one every couple of years because he doesn't suit your standard, because guys don't get it right away. There is something to be said about just sticking with your process and keep playing it out and keep trying to get better. And if you're still above 500 and you're still trending in the right direction, you take a look at this year. It's a completely different circumstance, but Jason brings up Zach Taylor. Zach Taylor, the thought was that they won in spite of, not necessarily won because of. He was a great rah-rah guy, but he wasn't a great X's and O's guy. Would you blame this season on Mike McCarthy in Dallas? I don't think I would. I think I blame it more on Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones gets in the way more than anything. Did the change make a difference getting rid of Robert Saleh in New York? No, they're even worse. Will they be better next year? Now it's going to be another year where they're going to start another rebuild and they're going to start to put in guys that fit whatever system it is for the coach that they bring in. I don't think that changing coach all the time is just, I just don't. Tom says, don't you find the record of 1-6 against Dan Campbell a problem? I do. Let me ask you this, Tom. Do you think that the Lions are better or the Packers are better? Personnel-wise, just give me a yes or no. You have to look at the personnel. Who's better? Who's a better football team? I think right now you'd have to say, well, the Lions are a better football team. They got better personnel. They're deep at the wide receiver position. They're good. They got a good tandem at running back, good tight end. They got a very experienced Super Bowl experienced quarterback right now. Their defense is by far head and shoulders better. Right? So why would you say, does that concern me? Yeah, it concerns me. It concerns me because the personnel is not the same. I would be this more of an indictment of the front office than it is an indictment of the head coach. That's the way I would look at it.
I feel like the offenses are comparable. The defense, like Brian Brand is healthy and Terrion Arnold is healthy and Jair's not.
Yeah.
Right? Or Evan Williams is not. Like, it's not far away. Aiden Hutchinson is a lot better than Rashawn Gary. And I know Hutchins is hurt, but like just here and there on the defense, they have guys who are legit stars. The Packers have a lot of guys very good.
Yeah.
Offenses are a lot closer.
Yeah. I would agree with. And Tom just said, I'd say the Detroit Lions are better right now. Well, that answers your question. Yeah. And Dan, I'll say this. Dan Campbell has given them a mentality and an identity that is football. They embody, breathe, and eat everything Dan Campbell says. And if you watch that post-game presser and that post-game, not presser, but that speech he gave his team in that locker room afterwards, I had even Packers fans saying, damn, I'd run through a wall for that guy. So I don't, you got a good head coach and you got good personnel. You got to look at it as Dan Campbell's done a hell of a job. They got to get stops consistently. They got to get stops. And defensively speaking, the Packers do. And it's not just against Dan Campbell. It's got to be against the teams that right now are considered better than them. Better than them. 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, please feel free to go ahead and do so. Let's see here. What else do we got over on the text line? They were talking about the pick. That wasn't. Look, the pick, I agree with. I didn't think it was a pick. I thought it was more like incidental contact. He wasn't purposefully. Christian Watson was not purposefully trying to run into anybody. Yeah, it really wasn't a pick. But by the letter of the law, it was. When you go with with the official's explanation that came out after the game, you're like, yeah, no, then the flag on that was warranted. You could have gone either way, but it was warranted. So it sucks, but I get it. This is DW says, hey, Bill and Grant, have a good day. Hey, Bill, who would you take as a head coach and who you have better success? Brett Bielema in Illinois or Luke Fickell here in Madison? I don't know. I'm gonna give Fickell one more year. I'll give Fickell another year. Out of the 715, Ben from Eau Claire says, I got disconnected. Just wanted to also say it seemed very personal for Detroit, not only with the intensity as mentioned before, but also with how they were mocking the Green Bay Packers celebrations throughout the entire game. Do you think it's going to light a fire in Green Bay for the next time these teams play, maybe in the playoffs? You noticed that as well. Do you have any thoughts about it? Detroit is feeling it at home, and they are going to do the exact same thing. Is that something for the Green Bay Packers to take note of? Hell yeah. Absolutely. 100%. Now, will they? I don't know. Wait and see. But they, like Mike Clemens, and you're going to hear that conversation. There's a whole vibe right now. There's a whole vibe right now in Detroit, and it's undeniable. It really is. They are just feeling it, and they have a right to. They have a right to. That's the best team in the NFC. They had their entire starting defensive front down and still were able to put pressure on the quarterback. They couldn't stop the run to save their life later in the ball, but they did exactly what they needed to do. So they're feeling it right now. I don't have any. You know what? The old adage is, if somebody's going to mock you, if somebody's going to beat you up, if they're going to score on you, when you stop them, they stop that crap. There you go. That's the simplest way to do it. And I'll say the same thing about our team. If you don't want them mocking you, if you don't want them trash talking you, beat their ass. Do it. See what happens. 877-867-1670. Coming up next, Mike Clemens. You're going to hear that conversation up in Green Bay, live up in Green Bay is not Brian Good, but Matt LaFleur speaking now. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Roberts Specialty Meats in Waukesha. Paul Roberts, great guy. Saw him this weekend. He was here, and we spent a lot of time together just kind of talking, and a lot of neat stuff going on with Paul. We're so happy that his business is thriving and surviving. Small business, but your hometown butcher with everything that's great, whether it's tailgate fare or just this time of year for the holidays. You can even place your orders or just sit at home and grilling. They even do some seafood stuff down there as well if you're looking for crab legs and such. A lot of great stuff. Robert's Specialty Meats, Waukesha.com on Sunset Drive in Waukesha. Stop in and tell Paul the whole gang we sent you.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio
Network. Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
They are going. And then Goff falls down, but Montgomery is able to pick up the first down. So Goff falls down as he's making the handoff, and this should seal it. They'll run the clock down, take the field goal. What a call. Ball game. 34-31 Lions.
Mike Clemens joining us now on the hotline, brought to you by the Bay Motel in Green Bay. They've got packages available for the NFL draft coming up at the end of April. Call them 920-494-3441 or go to baymotelgreenbay.com. That is baymotelgreenbay.com. And Mike, it was like I got away from it over the weekend. And then today I started prepping for the show, and I got mad all over again for the Packers losing in Detroit. And you and I talked about a little bit about it. It's like they're just good enough to win, but they're not. And they're good enough to basically lose against the teams that are just a tick better than them. So kind of a tough pill to swallow over the weekend.
Yeah, first of all, I got to say thank you and Kristen and everybody that you had for staff and stuff on a tremendous, company and friends Christmas party, at your place over the weekend. That's just awesome. Today, the Packers will be back in meetings. I'm sure the coaches spent a lot of the time going over the tape over the weekend, and then we'll hear from LaFleur for the first time. Dan Campbell, his team took the weekend off, but they'll come back out today to sort of analyze some of the things that went down in Thursday night's game. But Bill, one of the things that happened right away in that Packers locker room, the losing locker room, the visitors at Ford Field, was there was trash talking. I mean, there was so much energy in that place. The Lions fans have transformed that place. The Lions PA crew and the music, the tempo, the rhythm of the place, it's better than U.S. Bank. U.S. Bank tends to be annoying as a fan sometimes, right, that skull and stuff. But this thing is right on. I mean, these people are yelling and screaming at the exact moments to the point where in those first couple of drives, I clearly think that Love and the Packers offense, as much as they practiced their silent count last week and have been through this before, they were the communication was zero in those first couple of drives. And then when they started running the ball, that helped them get off the ball faster. And Tucker Kraft, you go to him and, hey, can you believe that for like the fifth time in the game, at the end of the game, rather just kick the field goal with 43 seconds left. The Dan Campbell goes for it again, and here's Jared Goff falling down on his knee, still able to get the ball into Isaiah McDuff or into David Montgomery's hands. He runs off to the right hand side behind their best tackle, Sewell, since Decker was out. Their best guy, and they get 7 yards on that. And Tucker Trav said, "Yeah, this is danger Dan Campbell at work, going for it on 4th and 1 instead of kicking the field goal."
No, but we know that this offense, that's something they do. Dan Campbell, it's Danger Dan. That's what they call him, I guess. But I think our defense, they did their best. They played great ball. We had a turnover. We as a team, as a unit, we came up short.
That's how Dan has done it throughout the course of his career. And so it doesn't necessarily surprise me, but that gave us an opportunity there. We just, hats off to them. They executed and we didn't.
Here's an amazing stat, Bill.
Yeah, go ahead.
Since Dan Campbell took over as the head coach of the Lions, how many times have they gone for it on 4th down? 140 times, and they've converted 77. And so people were saying, well, he's going for it on 4th down because, his defense was so depleted. There were 4 guys that started for him on defense Thursday night that had not been with the Detroit Lions a week before, signing guys off the street. And as I told you, leading into the game, they've got 18 on IR, 13 of them are defensive players. So the Packers were losing the third string practice squad and guys off the street in that. And you know what? The Lions defense played a lot of man coverage, a lot of cat coverage, as Leroy Butler would say. You got that cat, I got this cat. Kept it simple. And so you had that stuff going on, and this is what, Campbell, for Dan Campbell, it's like, this doesn't say I don't trust the defense. This is, I trust the offense are going to get this on 4th down. And if they don't, I trust my defense can get this out. One time they didn't, and Jordan Love took over at the 30-yard line and then, had a touchdown drive. But 4 times, 2 of those times led the Lions touchdown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mike, look, I as much as I like what Dan Campbell does, and it's kind of like I wish he'd bring that badass mentality, but you're right. He's only been like a little bit above 50% when it goes for on 4th down, but he was 4 of 5 in that game the other night.
Yeah, and so then there's other stuff that's going on, the trash talking, like Matt LaFleur before the game. Why is he yelling at a Lions fan on the field before the game? It turns out the guy got tracked down by Channel 7 in Detroit, and his name is Yusuf. He's a Middle Eastern guy, so he's using this cutthroat symbol while he's supposed to be down there holding the flag. They ended up eventually escorting him out of the stadium before halftime. But LaFleur says, I got this guy on the field, first yelling at my players, then giving this cutthroat sign. I mean, this is a security risk. Here's LaFleur after the game.
I've never been a part of something like that. He was talking junk to our players, giving them the throat slash sign. You're trying to de-escalate it, and then he gets in my face. So I thought it was pretty unsportsmanlike. Like, I've never seen that. I've been on many fields, and usually they police that much better. I thought it was an arrogant fan that, wanted to get in part of the action. I'd like to see security or something step in there and get him out of there, because he shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, if the NFL wants a player to be doing it to anybody on the field, come on. That is a little bit ridiculous.
Well, good point. And you know how much security we've got to go through now with the face recognition and the badges and all the different checkpoints. But, hey, you want to come on down and hold the flag? No problem. You can be 10 feet away from the players and the coach, and be nuts. So, and then the trash talk. Terry and Arnold is their young 21-year-old defensive back out of Alabama, who did a lot of playing time this year because of all the injuries. And he talked about how they played man coverage. And he claims that there was a lot of disrespect from the Packers trash talking and from the Packers media.
With the game was kind of tricky because their players were saying a lot of stuff about us. And one thing about it, we don't tolerate disrespect. All disrespect must be addressed. Coaches talk about carrying emotion. So I know even as far as just going out there and executing and challenging receivers and making the plays that come to you. I know even just being vocal, although I'm young, but just stepping into a leadership role and just going out there and just I have to just continue to grow every day.
What's the thing about your defense that you guys have lost so many players on defense?
I mean, we're the best in the league at what we do. We got the best coordinator in the league, and we got the best coach in the league. And I said, one thing about it, we got a whole bunch of savages on this defense. So when somebody goes down, and AG or Dan calls somebody else, they're calling another savage. And then you get that savage, you put them in the room. You put them in the room with most savages. What you get? A whole bunch of savages. So that's what it is. I mean, it was kind of crazy watching. I'm not really into stuff like just like God. They really don't go here and execute. We have the best secondary in the league. We go out there and teams know we playing, man. And we go play, man. We're not one of those teams that just sit back and just sit in zone and they brought us all in here for a reason. We go out there and execute the game plan.
You know, the one thing, Mike, that was kind of reiterated over and over again was the fact that the Packers and Packers fans felt like they were screwed because of the officials. And I don't necessarily believe that.
Yeah, the crew, the John Hussey referee crew, they usually tend to let these guys play, but they seem to be calling everything. You know, I don't look for excuses. You're looking for reasons. But I mean, Keyshawn Nixon, Grant Bills took a still shot of the game of Keyshawn clearly being held, and yet there's other times where you got Zadarius Smith smacking Jordan Love in the head, other hold situations, and then you got the one toward the end of the game where it looks like Josh Jacobs is wide open on the right for a touchdown, and they call pass interference on Christian Watson, and Keyshawn talked about that's the thing that disappointed him the most.
Honestly, was that I think the penalty in the red zone, they call like a bogus offensive PI, should have touchdown. Like that, you got to put them away. We ain't put them away. No matter how good we are, they good too. We got to play ball. We can't play ball, but they at home. They got the call. Whoever on the field got to play it to the standard of what we got. Like I told you before, I've been in that role where, you know, you get thrown in, you got to play ball. Nobody gives a we got to play ball. Get out there, everybody got to play. When they can't play, we can't play. Clash of the Titans, they got the dub.
That's basically what it is. I mean, I hate to blame the officials for losses, and because it's a play. If you want to stop them before that, stop them after that. But it's a play. So
what could have been a touchdown for the Packers and go up like 35-31 toward the end of the game, a touchdown to Josh Jacobs. Christian Watson is running across the field. And Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, he's got those defensive backs saying, "Hey, when you see a guy like that, you set a pick, make it look like you're being picked on." And Christian Watson said, "I'm just running a route, and they're calling pass interference on me."
I mean, just gotta try to find a way to avoid him. I mean, it's not even a pick play, so I'm not even trying to pay for anybody. So I wasn't, looking in there trying to, navigate anything like that because I'm on the backside of the play. I mean, he just turned and looked at me and saw me and just ran straight at me. I just gotta find a way to avoid it.
Which is true. Look, if you're being taught that defensively and you're winning because of the loophole in the rule or whatever it happens to be, or because you figured out a better technique, then they beat you. Then coaching beat you.
Yeah, and one of your defensive leaders, captains, of course, is Xavier McKinney, the safety in the back end. And, he was asked, God, the Lions converted 4 out of 5 first downs, including the critical one at the end of the game on 4th and 1, where at least Jordan could have got back on the field with 40 seconds left. And here's what McKinney said.
We weren't good enough on our side of the ball defensively, and we got to find ways to get stops. We got to find ways to generate more turnovers to put our offense in a better spot. Yeah, that's kind of what it is. We got to get the stop. When we need to get the stop, we got to get the stop.
And which is true, Mike. The other thing is like they screened them to death. And when you go back and watch it, you see a lot of the screenplays where the Packers have 2 guys coming and they've got 3 blockers in front of them. I couldn't figure out why you couldn't figure out the damn screenplay.
Right, and why you can't make that kind of adjustment. Because Ben Johnson kept on throwing those screens and getting first downs on some 3rd and longs. And Isaiah McDuffie, who did a tremendous job. He had 11 tackles, and it was still the 3rd quarter. He finished the night with 15 combined tackles. I said, Isaiah, you did a great job, but man, what's the deal? Why couldn't you stop the Lions screenplay?
In the edge, we got to rush the ball at the end of the day. Getting guys out of the stack, I think, it's challenging. They're good too. And that's just practice. We got to get out there and practice that and get practice reps with that, and we'll get that fixed. Definitely. Yeah, screws are always tough because you got to get those guys out of the D lineman retracing. You got to set an edge. Screws are always tough, and and they're a good team at doing it. It's something they do, and they're good at it.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Cleveland picked up the phone, called the Lions, and began conversations that culminated on Tuesday morning when the two sides agreed to a deal that would send Zadarius Smith, the three-time Pro Bowl defensive end, to Detroit, which is his third home in the NFC North, having played before for Green Bay and Minnesota.
Love. Off the play fake. Under pressure. Look out. Sacked at the 23-yard line. That doesn't work. Good to have you back.
Packers lose on Thursday night. Now it's just about seeding and getting better heading into the postseason, trying to get hot into the postseason, get healthy into the postseason. Mike Clemens joining us on the hotline, brought to you by the Bay Motel in Green Bay. So, Mike, the guy that did have a good night, and I could not understand why they got away from it in a couple of series, but Josh Jacobs was running the ball pretty well. And the next thing you know, they're doing flea flickers and putting themselves in bad down and distance situations. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing in play calling wise when things are working? You don't go away from it.
No, by the fourth drive, they start handing off the ball to Josh Jacobs and pushing back on that line. Josh Jacobs turns out to be, one of the answers in the red zone. And so he ends up scoring, 3 touchdowns in that game the other night. And I think he's repeating what Flirt told these guys in the locker room after the game that, you know what, keep your heads in this game and in this season. Back here in Ford Field as a wild card team. And here's what Jacob said after the game.
Yeah, we're gonna see him again. We're gonna see him again. That's the beauty of it all. Take these feelings, process them, and go back to work.
I hope they do, and it's very hard for one team to beat an NFL team 3 times in the same season, especially when you're playing so close and tightly contested games. So that bodes well for the Packers, I guess, right?
Let me ask you. I think I saw this stat though that in the 19 times that two teams have faced each other 3 times, the winner of the first 2 has got real good odds of winning the third one. I think it's like only 6 times that the losing team was going to win in the playoffs. We'll have to double check that today.
Yeah.
But Jordan Love was, always the optimist and say, hey, let's not talk about January. Let's talk about that we got to get past the Seahawks and the Saints and these other teams right now.
That's one thing that we just got to continue to take it a week at a time, like we always talk about. Obviously, we got a couple games left here, and we're trying to finish on the right note and win out these last couple games, and handle business, take it one game at a time, and obviously, we'll see what happens postseason time.
I hope that he's right. I hope that the Packers are able to kind of right this ship and be able to get him again. That would mean that they've gone pretty deep into the postseason. At least they've gotten 1 win at that point. So we kind of cross our fingers in that. But Mike, experience-wise at Ford Field and your gut reaction when you left that place.
They are all in Detroit. They have billboards that say all in. There's TV anchor women in promos saying, Sue Smith today at 5 wearing T-shirts that say all in. They want the Super Bowl now. They think that this is their chance. The next team that the Packers are going to play are Seattle, in Seattle Sunday night, and they beat the Cards yesterday. Of course, Kyler Murray threw them 2 interceptions. They turned into touchdowns. That was 14 points there. Vikings looked tremendous yesterday. It's not going to be an easy road to win these next 4 to make sure that you lock in and secure, a wild card position and are ready for the start of that postseason. But injury wise, I saw, Evan Williams, the safety, clearly was suffering from a concussion in the locker room. Javon Bullard, the rookie defensive back, he left for the team bus on crutches with that ankle injury. We're talking to LaFleur later today, and then they're going to open up the locker room for us.
There you go. That's our guy, Mike Clemens, joining us a little bit earlier today. Good stuff from Mike. Always appreciate it, and love getting a little bit of that insight. And Matt LaFleur talking today, and then we'll hear a lot of that coming up tomorrow on the program as well. Packers will be back in the practice field eventually here for full go on Wednesday. They've got a Sunday night contest, so you got a little bit of time between the time that you played the Lions and the time that you actually take on the Seattle Seahawks out there on the West Coast. But it's going to be a week. And again, kind of like, what are you jockeying for? You're jockeying for position. You're jockeying for wins. You want to get hot. Obviously, you want to get healthy. Going through some of the list there of some of the guys that are down right now for the Packers. So there's a lot of things you're attempting to get better as the remainder of the season goes along. But we keep pointing to kind of the same. So we'll talk a little bit more about that coming up tomorrow on the program. I think we get back into some other stuff. We kind of looked around the NFL and Week 14 today. We can do that a little bit more tomorrow and start looking at scenario-wise. Maybe get into the preferences, at least from fans, as to who you would rather face in the postseason. You can win the division, so now you're a wild card. You're on the road. So who you would like to face, we can get into that a little bit. We can talk a little bit more of some baseball. Obviously today, and I thought it was rather interesting. You look at a lot of small markets. I'm watching on Twitter today on X for a lot of small market stuff. I had kind of hashtag more than a few teams. The Royals, teams like Cincinnati, teams like Pittsburgh, teams like Tampa Bay, Oakland for the time being, until they end up out there in Las Vegas. A lot of small market teams, and who are all saying the same thing. We don't have the ability to compete with things like that. And, now the owners, if indeed the owners are, going to be upset by any of this, which I'm sure the owners are, but they're never going to really kind of take it to the board. And now they would have to kind of open up the books and say, well, what are you actually making? What is your organization making? And what capabilities do you really have? And I don't know if that's going to happen. So we'll get into all of that baseball-wise coming up tomorrow. In the meantime, the Bucks, we had mentioned that a little bit earlier. The Bucks snapped the losing the 2-game skid, call it that, and currently it is dropped in the college basketball polls, and they lost to Marquette over the weekend at the Fiserv Forum, and that was a tough game. The true point guard-ism, so to speak, was a little bit tough getting the ball up the court, and kind of some of the things they wanted to do, they weren't able to do. So that was a tough one for the Badgers. Good win for Marquette. They owned the state again. So Marquette playing good basketball, and that's going to be a team to be reckoned with as you go through the Big East and get towards the tournament, barring injuries. In the meantime, the Badgers got to regroup a little bit, lick some wounds, figure a few things out, and then get back at it. Tanya wanted to get a few calls in that game, drove the lead a little bit, didn't get the calls that they wanted, but you live and learn, and now you kind of move on. So we got a lot to get to throughout the rest of the week, and at some point, you're kind of hoping with the general managers meetings and such going on for baseball that you start to hear a few more rumors, things that are going to start to break, start to come out with what the Brewers are going to do. Is it going to be Devin Williams? Are they going to Hoskins? Are they going to try to get him away? What are they? Is there some shopping going on? What are they doing to get better? So we're getting all of that as well, hot stove league wise. Sure. So good stuff there. But a good start to the week on a critical Monday. A lot of fun there today. So fantastic day. It's time for us to get out of here until we talk